Hello and welcome to The Comic Conspiracy, episode number 300. One of us is going to get a black costume symbiote suit here any minute now. My name is Ryan Higgins, who is here with me this week. Oh, wait, it's June 7th. Wait, June? I said June.
Jesus, you screwed it up again.
March 7th? I looked at 7 and I thought, I don't know, it's March 7th, 2017. My name is Ryan Higgins. Bryce is shaking his head at me. Who is here?
Brock Sager.
Toby Sidler.
Whoa, what?
Bryce Larsen.
And Charlie.
And very special guest. Who's here?
Tonight we dine in hell, Julian Titus.
Whoa,
No
Julian.
pants.
No pants, but in person.
Yeah.
With no pants.
No, he has pants.
I have pants on. I had planned on bringing shorts just for Toby, but the weather was not permitting.
I was going to walk in with no pants on, but I don't think you guys want to see me in my briefs.
The night is young.
That's true.
All the way from the Nerds That Love Pants podcast, frequent Patreon backer here, and now in store, in person, in the
Meat space.
There you go, meat space. That's right. I thought you said eat space. That works too.
You just finished eating.
And hot off his premiere episode of the Geek Box last night, which should be up. I don't know. Hopefully today. Hopefully it's already up. Actually,
Next week.
No. Ryan's actually been really good about putting it up on time.
Sure.
He just hasn't gone up today yet. So, Julian, what brings you around?
Shameless self-promotion, as I said on the Geek Box, and also just I'm such a fan of the show and the store that I felt it was time to finally make the pilgrimage, as many people have done.
That's the best reasoning.
And,
now here's the scary part. You actually came here to do these podcasts.
I did.
Like, you didn't come here to, like, do something else, and you're like, and I'll stop by and do this podcast. So you've really wasted a trip. You've really wasted your time.
Some of the side stuff while he was waiting to do these things, Alcatraz, seeing the sights in San Francisco, you know, he's gotten a couple of things done.
But this was the focus. It was like, I'll go do the podcast, and I guess I'll check out Alcatraz. I don't know.
I'm very happy you went to San Francisco and saw something worth going to. So, yeah. Well, glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
I always think it's worth coming to the shop.
Yeah, I got to say, to listeners who have not made the trip, the Comics Conspiracy shop is one of the most well-organized, efficiently run, put-together stores I've been to. So check it out, because it is a very cool store.
Get out of here.
Just because Higgins a little neurotic. Have you ever eaten on his counter?
A little?
Wipe it right away, dude. Right away.
Why are you eating on his counter?
Just to watch him go, oh, there's a fucking breadcrumb.
How is that a barometer for like craziness? I don't want you eating on my counter.
I've just
Challenge accepted.
I've just stopped asking Charlie to clean up more on Sundays. I've just accepted. I just come in Monday and just clean.
Yes.
So it's fine. Charlie's looking at something. He noticed something, and now he's getting up and he's not talking. And
He's distracted.
yeah, Charlie's distracted by something. He started to talk, and now he's walking around. He's gonna probably club me in the head. Like, what's going on? Where are you going?
He found a breadcrumb on your desk.
Yeah.
For the listeners in this great radio, Charlie never leaves the table with the mic. He always sits through the whole podcast playing Marvel Puzzle Quest, the whole podcast, and never, ever leaves. As opposed to Toby. He's like the anti-Toby.
Charlie spotted a Darkwing Duck keychain at like 10 yards and just like
You could have told me to grab it.
No.
I love it how
I had to go make sure it was real.
Well, how it took you an hour to spot that? It's been sitting at the top of the keychain pile this whole time, and you've been looking at it this whole time.
I think you've worked multiple days that's been here. Anyway.
I don't know. It was staring at me right now. I noticed all the billion stitches and went, I wonder how many of those Toby owns already. But
I own... No, not yet. They're still in the box, so technically I don't own them yet.
So, Julian,
Ryan is very meticulous.
Before we get on this podcast, why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast and your website and everything to promote it? Since you're here, you might as well promote it to the fans.
I've actually gotten quite a few listeners from this podcast, so thanks to everybody that listens. Shout out to Xrian. He's one of my carryovers from this podcast. But
He already left us for your podcast.
No, he definitely still listens. He'll comment sometime. So no, it's Nerds Without Pants. It's a video game podcast. It's me and two other co-hosts, Angelo and Patrick, and we do 3 different segments. They're supposed to be bite-sized segments, but the show is ballooned into about a 2.5-hour affair almost every episode.
So Bryce
shows
on
do that
week,
way.
right? Yeah.
So we start off with Stage Select, which is where each of us takes turns picking a topic. So it'll just be like different video game related topics. So just recently we did like our 3 favorite video game consoles of all time. And the next episode that we're doing this week, we're doing our top 3 canceled games. Like, stuff that we really wish we could have played, but never came out. So we're picking that. Our second segment is called Consumption Junction. And if you listen to the Geek Box, it's more like that, where we're just talking about all of the media we consume. So that's video games, movies, comics, what have you. And then we finish things off with Chrono Crossing, where we started at 2015, and every episode we go back 1 year, and we talk about our favorite video game of that year. We have to pick one. We can't have ties. We can't do any of that crap. It's just one game, and it can't be a re-release. It can't be a port. And the first section and the last section, we get listener interaction. So that's been a lot of fun, like just getting tweets and comments and emails and stuff about, like, from listeners chiming in on those sections. That's the best part, is they'll come up with, like, the weirdest stuff, you know, like for their favorite games of the year. It's like, okay, I wouldn't have thought of that, but you do you. That's really cool. And it's nice to be able to talk about that stuff where, you know, for me, sometimes it's like, oh man, I really want to pick this game, but I can't. But oh, thank goodness somebody else picked it so I can still talk about it.
Yeah, I think 95% of this podcast is just answering listener questions, which makes it really easy a lot of the time. Where I'm like, I have nothing to talk about, but 6 people ask questions on Twitter, and 3 of them I can rant about for 45 minutes. So there's an episode. The secret's out. Well, cool. Glad to have you on.
Thank you.
And we're gonna.
Yeah, he's a little mad at me.
Julian?
Why?
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Because I said, here, buy this. It started to be a stack. So,
Brock can be a good salesman.
I had already, like, plunked down like $150 in this store, and then Brock got like another 100 out of me, just like, oh, here, take this.
Oh, Brock, the best salesmen are the ones you don't have to pay commission.
Exactly.
Damn it.
Well, we're gonna have you play a fun game. Oh, wait, actually, completely forgot. We need to do this.
Secret Origin.
I don't think
He's already done it.
you did it when you were on.
Oh,
yeah. But do you want to refresh our audience here a little bit now that you're actually in person?
Yeah, I can do that real quick. Started out as a kid reading Transformers. Like, that was actually before I even could read. My dad would just buy it and he would read it to me on his lap because I loved Transformers. You know, I'm born in '80, so it's like Transformers was like the first thing for me, like the first big thing.
Wait, how old were you?
How old were you in the 80s?
No. How old were you when your dad would read you?
Oh, like 4.
Okay, so if I have a 4-year-old, hypothetically speaking,
You should read him He-Man. Half-naked dude running around with a sword.
that or Transformers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good jumping on point for Transformers, especially like if you do. Is it More Than Meets the Eye? That's the one where they're on the ship. That's a really good one. That's really fun. And then got into like actual superhero comics around 89 or so. Actually, I talked about it before, but my first superhero comic is the Batman: A Death in the Family.
Nice.
Which is
Good one.
it's a really weird Batman, like introduction to Batman, you know, like
That's a good one.
it is a good one, you know, and so Jim Aparo is forever like one of my favorite Batman artists because to me that is Batman.
Wait, how old are you at this point?
I would have been 9, so that was
And Death in the Family
Yeah.
brought you into comics?
yeah, and then I got into
Kids these days.
So the day
Death in the Family is the first trade that I ever bought in English.
yeah,
Yes.
It's a
Before
great
I
one.
could read English.
I still have that copy.
true.
I still
He
have
just
that
bought it
original
last
one.
week.
No, I fucking still have it. Yeah, really funny, Brian Higgins. I'll get you back.
But yeah, and but the day that my parents picked up that for me, my dad got Silver Surfer and Iron Man because he read those as a kid, and he wouldn't let me read them for the longest time. But then finally, he let me read them, and that's what did it. So that was Iron Man when he was just back into the red and gold armor, and it was Bob Layton doing the art. And then Silver Surfer, that's Ron Lim's run, and Jim Starlin. So, you know, for me, like Infinity Gauntlet, I just reread the Omnibus, and it's like, I'm sad that they don't have Silver Surfer in the MCU because that's a Silver Surfer story.
Yeah.
You're like, all of the lead up to Infinity Gauntlet is about Silver Surfer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's going to make me really sad, like missing that key character for that movie series.
Don't worry, I'm sure it'll all be about Groot for some reason. So.
Fuck off.
Baby Groot. All right, we're gonna move. We're gonna move
the armor.
We got our February sales charts here. We're gonna move into that, and we actually have a lot of stuff to say about this because it's a very interesting month. And
Wouldn't it be cool if Silver Surfer is actually going to be in Infinity War and it's a complete secret, and when we watch a movie, he just appears?
I'd love it.
I would wet myself.
Why would you even say that? They can't. It's still
don't
Fox's.
know?
What? No. What? Yeah.
Lots of money.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That
You
is
know what would
awesome.
also be cool if the X-Men just magically showed up in the Marvel Universe cinematic.
like Deadpool and the Logan movie.
We'll talk about Logan later. Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to talk about Logan later. So if you haven't seen Logan, you're going to want
to a 4-hour podcast.
You're going to want to shut off the last back half of this podcast. Let's move into our sales charts here for February 2017.
The back half is the best.
There is one part of this that I'm going to tell you about. Walking Dead number 163 did ship. It did sell 750,000 copies. It is on the sales charts because it is a 25-cent issue, and they don't put those actually on the sales charts. So you can take that issue of Walking Dead off your list if you want to play the guessing game here. But why don't we have you guys try to guess the top 10 books of February 2017?
Batman, number one.
Sold to direct market comic book stores in North America only.
Okay. Asterix number... No, just kidding.
You said Batman.
Number one.
You said Batman. Of course Batman's on this list. Batman number 16 is number 2. Batman number 17 is number 3. Now, here's the problem with this month's sales charts, and you know how bad the sales are here, because Batman number 2 sold 102,000, and that's the number 2 comic.
Yeah.
Batman number 16, Batman number 17, the number 3 comic, was 99,000. So there's only 2 books, the number 1 and number 2 book, over that magic 100,000 spot anymore.
Is it magic?
They like that number. They like that 100,000. They like that number, so...
Did Super Sons rate?
Super Sons number 1. Yep.
Oh, rate. Sorry, I thought you said number 1. Sorry. Sorry.
Super Sons number 1 was a number 5 comic at 90,000 copies, which I think is pretty impressive. Oh, and
I like that book.
90,000. That's great.
I should also say All-Star Batman number 7 was a number 7 book at 77,000, and a $5 book as well. That book is money.
Just like all those $10 Deadpool books.
Yeah. They don't always chart the top 10.
Wait. Okay, so what in February sold more than Batman?
What's funny?
I Am Bane Part 1 and Part 2.
Batman is in 6 out of the 10 top 10 books.
Hey, by the way, can I ask you a question?
Justice League of
trolly
America.
but not trolly. DC has poorer paper quality than Marvel. Is that correct?
Totally incorrect.
It feels like trolly but not trolly. It feels thinner. Is that
No, Marvel's thinner. Marvel uses what they call a
like what?
They call it's called like a self cover. The interior and the cover stock is the same on Marvel Comics, and they are not great. DC has a higher, slightly thicker coated paper.
Okay, so I guess
not as thick as like IDW. IDW has like the best paper in comics. It's IDW's books are ridiculously thick.
But they're the worst for boards and bags.
They are the worst for boards and bags, but they have the best paper in comics.
It just feels like when I'm reading... So the only DC book, that I get is Batman. It just feels like it's so much thinner and easily, I guess, damageable than Marvel. It has nothing to do with the content of either story. It just, like, when I started picking up Batman with Rebirth, it feels so much more... and maybe it's because it's a higher quality and it's more delicate. I don't know.
It's like a coated gloss paper. It just maybe just feels a little different.
Feel this?
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised right now because I kind of remember the Marvel one being weaker.
Marvel got better. They did get better.
I want to say this paper, not the cover, the interior might be stronger than DC's right now. I'm surprised right now. Just by holding this paper right now, I actually think Marvel might be better.
They've not changed as far as I know. So.
No,
I'm feeling them both right now.
Yeah.
And
right or left?
One with each. And I'm feeling them right now, and it feels to me like this Batman paper is just thinner and more easily messed up by fingerprints or sweaty hands or whatever than Marvel books.
But how's the mouth feel?
Whoa!
Someone
Emma
eat a comic
Frost,
book.
I don't. That's what you're talking about. Okay. Anyway.
But Brock,
the cover is still horrible, but the interior is not bad.
Refuted and
the cover
disputed.
and the interior is the same paper.
Yeah, but the cover
Generally.
Ryan, were there any Star Wars books in the top 10?
Well, first we can answer Brock, because Justice League of America Rebirth number 1 was the number 9 comic at 73,000 copies. And Justice League
was going to be higher.
And Justice League America number 1, the actual number 1 issue, was the number 4 book at 93,000 copies.
All right, so we got 2 through 5.
And yes, Star Wars was in there, number 28. Issue 28 was the number 8 book at 74,000. But also, Star Wars Darth Maul was the number one comic of the month at 105,000 copies.
Wow.
Lots of variant covers.
Wait, who was the creative team behind that?
It was Colin Bunn, right? I think he's doing Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Huh.
Lots of retailer covers, lots of variants, lots of incentives.
He's been great. Uncanny X-Men.
So you have Darth Maul, Batman, Justice League America, Super Sons, All-Star Batman, Star Wars, Justice League Rebirth. Okay. You're missing 2. I mean, you're missing number 6.
Is it the same book?
It's 6. It's Image. It's the title that's always in the top 10.
Whoa, Saga.
It's
Walking Dead.
The other issue of Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
They shipped 2 in the month, 164. 83,000 copies. And number 10, you already mentioned it, kind of. Justice League, number 14. 65,000 copies, number 10. Justice League also had the 11th spot.
Is Saga just...
Saga's fallen pretty far. I mean, it's still top 50, I think, when it comes out, but
it'll just never regain the top 10, do you think?
No.
Well, the trade sales are they're really, really good.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But historically, that's always been the case with Image, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saga's a number one trade seller, for sure. So.
Okay, but not in the top 20 anymore.
Not for comics, no.
It's still really good, by the way. I don't know if you guys are still reading it, but Saga's been great. So's Black
I'm a little
Science.
behind on Saga.
Okay, then I won't spoil that they all die.
But
Damn it, Bryce!
No, Black Science has also been great. Have we talked about that recently? It's been probably about 2 weeks since I talked about that.
well, let's talk about really briefly here why.
Briefly.
Hey,
Sure.
February.
I think that word just starts him off.
I'm ready to go.
So while Marvel does have the lead over units and dollars shipped total for the company, as of the last few episodes, we're trying to focus more on the actual top 300 comics of the month. Marvel had 102 issues in the top 300 comics. So that's 102 brand new single issue comic books. DC had 82. Image had 33. The unit share of the top 300, DC has 41.54%, Marvel has 41.27%.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I'm sitting next to Toby, and he's distracting me with Emma Frost.
Marvel shipped 102 books, DC shipped 82 books.
Okay.
Units sold, DC has 41.54%, Marvel has 41.27%. So 20 more titles, and they're basically tied for units sold, meaning fewer units per.
But Marvel's winning. Boom goes the dynamite.
They're winning if you count total sales for comic books, graphic novels, and all items shipped by Diamond Comics.
And being more awesome.
So this is actually coming back to what we were talking about a few weeks ago, where there's no more overshipping. There's no more extra copies being put into the market. So this is pure sales to comic book stores. Those are very low numbers for Marvel to have that many books on the market and to be selling selling less than DC with 20% more.
Their units were down below DC's by a little bit.
Raw dogging it, Marvel. I like it. That's my style.
Well,
it's actually not, but
yeah, it's this is a worrying.
What is worrying? What is worrying about it?
I mean, it's so few books. So Solo number 5, the final issue of an ongoing, quote unquote, in continuity mainstream Marvel comic, shipped in February. Spot number 278 in the top 300 at 49,000 copies sold. That's less than 2 per store. That is unimaginable.
How many copies?
4,900.
What?
Wow.
What were they? I mean, I know that
obviously,
and there's nothing that you can say. What were they thinking with Solo and Fool Killer?
No, right,
ongoing, quote unquote.
Yeah.
What on earth? What on earth?
Fool Killer sold 65,000 copies. Number 237.
What is that? Under 3 per store?
There's roughly 27. The number I've heard more recently is there are 2,700 monthly ordering accounts from Diamond. So 2,700 full service comic stores for the most part. Yeah. So that's 2 and change per store.
Oh, good old Fool Killer. That gem.
Oof. Yeah, that's bad. Those real bad numbers. So what's
been great though has been Ultimates.
I stopped reading this one.
Yeah, it has.
Dude, Ultimates has been awesome. Every time I read it now, I keep thinking about how we talked about a couple of weeks back about how it should be called Infinity Watch.
Yeah.
Because now I just am really angry that it's not called Infinity Watch. It's been really, really good.
What were the dollar amounts?
It's amazing.
For top 300? Or?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yes, I agree. Are we still going?
Well, it amazes me that how much emphasis they have on the current state of the Marvel Universe gets communicated through a book that nobody's paying attention to.
Exactly. There's so many books. Higgins just said there's like over 100 books. It's like in 99 of those books, nothing's happening to the universe from a meta perspective, but it's all happening in Ultimates 2, which is the worst name for a title where everything is happening.
Yes.
Fucking incredible book. You guys should go read Ultimates 2. You should actually start at Ultimates 1, number 1, whatever, after Secret Wars.
So to answer Brock's question of what the dollar share of top 300 comics were, Marvel has 44% and DC has 36%. So Marvel's books are more expensive. They make more money.
Yep, and better.
Well, let's talk about Marvel's books being better, Bryce. Because there was a little rumor that popped up this weekend at Emerald City Comic Con I want to talk about. Now, we'd heard stuff about this before, that Marvel may do their own version of Rebirth. But instead of having a bunch of new number ones, much like, the Bryce, you just can't. You're just grimacing when I say that. They will return to some classic characters and classic takes on those characters. How about not a Rebirth? How about that? We'll say
much better.
This comes from Bleeding Cool that says that Make Mine Marvel, which is their kind of publishing, the rumored publishing brand, right, for this, will not launch with number ones, which has been their operation for the last couple of years. However, they will go back to legacy numbering on all those titles. Now, we have Venom coming up with issue 150. That's pretty soon. We are led to believe that will be followed up the following month by Venom 151. That's if you take all the miniseries and specials and one-shots and throw them all together. This would be the number. With books like Blue and Gold coming out soon, it would kind of make sense if those got called Uncanny X-Men and X-Men very shortly. And what would it be of X-Men 600 plus another 19 issues?
Well, the X-Men will probably be under
it's been more than that.
300 and some.
But I know what you're saying. But it's been more than that.
Yeah, X-Men Legacy went up to 2 something. Plus it had a few volumes, right? And so
I mean, it could be closer to 400.
Yeah, Can
we retcon the Cy Superior X-Men Legacy out of existence?
So, I'm just saying, Superior didn't do X-Men Legacy. No.
It was the second iteration.
Yeah, right. Legacy.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking in the
they had the vampire. They had the vampire started series. Then they had the one that started with Mr.
the vampire
Sinister.
is just
X-Men.
Yeah. Right.
No, I'm thinking of
I know what you mean.
The Mike Carey stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I think of.
Brotherhood came back. Yeah.
So again, rumors coming out of Emerald City. Hopefully, this is true. Now, let's put that aside. Because I have to talk about something very briefly here. Again,
before you do,
sorry,
can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, sure.
Hey, so for example, Venom.
Yeah.
Always the numbering has been Volume 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's call it 1 through 10. They restarted a year later, a month later, 2 years later, whatever.
Yeah.
Volume 2.
Numbers have been taking off of all comic books.
Volume numbers have?
Yep. They just say the year now.
So they're just not even going to have the abbreviation vol in there, and they're just going to
haven't had them for
number,
years.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yep. They haven't had them for years. The comic, the comic, the year, the issue number. That's what they're called.
Is awesome.
Yeah, I hate in fact, when we started doing our back issue bins, when we started doing our back issue bins, everything was volume. So a bunch of my back issue labels say volume. And then everyone stopped doing it, so all my modern stuff just has the year. So I'm like, fuck, I actually want to go back and redo all these tags to have the start year of the first issue. Yeah. So like Spider-Man would be like 19 would and the 62 or whatever, right? So I want to actually go back and adjust all those old tags.
Yeah, which you will never do.
No, I need to. They're a bunch of those tags are all old and gross.
Yeah, Ryan will go crazy until he does it.
Will go crazy?
I'll have
Don't mind if I do.
It'll be a Monday, Tuesday thing, and I'll be like, God fucking damn it.
Be like, Brock, pull them all! We're doing this today!
Ryan, get on Twitter about Donald Trump. Brock, you do it.
Historically, when they flip-flop to legacy numbering, because they've done it a few times for different titles, what has been the reaction from customers? Like, is there just abject confusion, or do they just roll with it? Because I remember Marvel did this a while ago. Like, I think Iron Man all of a sudden went back to legacy numbering. I forget. Maybe that was after
500.
Well, FF did it. They went back to the legacy numbering 4 issues before they canceled the comic, right? Mm-hmm. I think there is a little bit of confusion from some parties, but everyone just kind of rolls with it. It's just the new issue of Amazing Spider-Man on the shelf. I just grab it. I don't really care what the number is. At this point, I think the comic should be called Amazing Spider-Man February 2016. Or 2017. That is the issue right there. Like, I don't care what the number is.
What about when they double ship? By the way, I agree with you, but what about when they double ship?
A and B.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, remember when Spider-Man and X-Men used to double, or
it would
Spider-Man,
be like early February,
early February, early February,
okay,
late.
No, I remember. Jim Lee's X-Men famous for doing that golden era of comics.
I would hate that just to do back issues, but I'm just saying.
A and B, that would actually suck.
But imagine not having to get issue numbers and volume numbers. It would be awesome to just do it purely by the month the issue came out. That would be you would never have a problem sorting because it's always just sequential. Now, is this going to happen to the degree that we want? Is it going to be every title? Is it going to be a huge event? We don't know.
Well, not right away. I have to assume it wouldn't be right away.
Secret Empire.
They got to ease in. They're not going to jump in. That's a crazy business strategy. Why wouldn't they not just ease in?
Marvel's done it multiple times.
Marvel's crazy.
New
They're
52,
crazy.
New 52, Rebirth, right? It's happened, and it's been successful.
Okay,
most times.
That's true. I take it all back.
How would they ease in, though? Like...
Well, okay, so I guess it's a half-cocked answer, because they're easing in, like, some they don't need to renumber right away, but, like, Venom they can, renumber right away.
Oh, so it's a smaller title.
Well,
it's just
to me,
they don't need to renumber books that are, like oh, God, tell me Thanos isn't being canceled.
Oh, I have no idea. Well, he's off the book.
Oh, you have no idea?
Well, hold on.
If you had an idea, then I might be more inclined to think that it was being canceled.
Hold on, real quick, let's talk about Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire is apparently leaving Marvel, and this is not a rumor anymore. Yeah, this is official.
He's apparently left Marvel already.
So
was it because of all the hate tweets that you were sending him? You did. It was him or Charles Soule that literally. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
Charles Soule unfollowed me on Twitter, but I just didn't have any hate tweets.
So Higgins was like, "Oh God, superheroes fighting each other about IVX. Oh, I can't handle it." And it was, I swear to God, it was Charles Soule or Jeff Lemire.
It was Charles Soule. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
No. What I said was, this is not the book that I want to read right now. We're like days into the Trump presidency, and I'm like, I don't want to read about superheroes fighting each other right now.
I know, but when you're reading fucking comic books and you're the owner of a comic store and you have a lot of pull, which I hate, but you do, and you can't be on your soapbox talking about how this book is so lame because of the Trump presidency. IVX is about superheroes fighting each other, which I've never seen in the history of comic books.
Did not say it was lame. I just said this is just not the book I want to read. So
Charles Soule tweets Higgins back and says, "Oh, sorry you don't like it. Maybe you'd like Daredevil more," which Higgins is fucking not liking Daredevil, which, by the way, is also great, just like
I
IVX.
It's the current arc. I like it.
Yeah, well, you didn't reply and say, "Charles, Chuck, buddy, you may be old and senile and having seizures, but wrong Chuck. Sorry, that's for later." Really, nobody?
No, I completely cut that off. I did not catch that. I was like, I think
everybody but you caught that. It was a dad joke. But anyway, Charles Soule was defending himself. He was getting defensive by Higgins.
This conversation did not happen this way. What are you talking about?
How annoying is that? Wait, that's what are you talking about? That's absolutely what happened. It's in your Twitter file.
He just said,
or whatever.
He just said, "Oh, you should check out Daredevil." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, yeah." Actually,
because you were throwing shade at his book that he co-wrote with Lemire. That's actually been really good in IVX. I won't say great, but I'll say really good. So he says, "Oh, well, this guy has some pull. Maybe I'll say, oh, maybe you should check out Daredevil instead." He literally says "I'm sorry you don't like it. Maybe you should check out Daredevil instead." And you say something.
I wasn't like "fuck you" or anything like that. I was just cool. Yeah,
I didn't say you said "fuck you."
He didn't pull a Mark Millar.
I'm saying that you were throwing shade at his book, and he came in and tried to defend himself and deflect to a different one of his books that you might like better. And you said, "Oh yeah, maybe I'll check out Daredevil."
No, I said I'm catching up on Daredevil. Now I don't remember exactly what I tweeted, but I was. Daredevil was in my stack to catch up on.
Yeah, in your stack, none read in my stack to catch up on.
So what you should have been focusing on is when I was talking with our longtime listener and customer Stefano. With the new John Romita Jr. issue of
that was awesome.
The new John Romita Jr. issue of Suicide Squad came out, and he tweeted at me being like, "Man, how much longer is this?" And I just replied, "It's only 5 issues. It's only 5 issues." And then Rob Williams, the writer, was like, yeah, he's on for an arc, but you know.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, and I was like...
Because Stefano had tweeted about fitting title for... Because the story arc, the burning down the house, he's like, fitting title for the art
for the comic,
for the comic with the art in this book.
No way, that's so awesome.
And I was like, let me just put it this way: I'm extremely excited for who's taking over. It's not Ivan Rice, who is it? It's
Tony Daniel.
Tony Daniel. I'm extremely
either one of them would be
excited
awesome.
for Tony Daniel to take over with the next arc. And he's like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, I don't like John Romita Jr., but I'm not like, fuck you for having John Romita Jr. on this book. Like, have whoever they want.
Well, I mean, I did drop the FOC on it a little bit because it was him.
We've sold a significantly fewer copies of Squad because he's on the book. I know this for a fact.
Right. And this is the same one. Was it the same cover that I posted on the Facebook
They're all
group?
terrible. They're all awful.
And on the Facebook thread, you said the same thing. Like, it's only 5 issues. It's only 5 issues.
Only 5 issues.
Yeah.
God, he's bad.
The backup art's good, and the backup story.
Who does the backup story?
I can't.
Obviously not JR.
No, he doesn't. Thank God.
I do not come at any of these books from a place of hate.
I know. Me neither. I just don't like Romita Jr. on any book. Right. It's not about the book. It's about the artist.
I do appreciate when Bryce does an impression of you coming at all these books with hate.
So speaking of...
No, I've never said that Higgins says fuck you to books, except for when I do.
So speaking of no hate, let me tell you a little bit about what happened this last Friday. Now, you're going to all hate me, speaking of a little bit of hate, because I can't give you a lot of specifics. However, this last Friday...
Wait. I know what happened on Friday.
Whoa, what happened? The Nintendo Switch, baby.
Fucking Switch. You didn't do shit
12:01. No, okay.
Higgins is about to do the podcast equivalent of that vague Facebook post that you just hate your friends for.
I do. I am going to. It's awful.
They'll go onto their status and update their status to, like, feeling curious. And you're just like, what the fuck is... I hate you.
So we just talked about rumors that were published on Bleeding Cool from Emerald City Comic Con. Okay. On Friday, there was a retailer conference call with Marvel Comics that I was a part of. There was no NDA to sign.
Oh, what the?
But
wait, no. You actually talked to Marvel on a conference call?
Hold on. This was a private phone call through Comics Pro, which is a comic retail organization I belong to. This is, as far as I'm aware, the first conference call Marvel's done with retailers in a very long time, if ever. This was in response to their meeting they had at the Comics Pro meeting that did go public and went through Bleeding Cool and other sites about comments made like, Rebirth is costing you Marvel sales because you don't have enough money to order Marvel comics because the comics are cheap and they're because of the returns and everything. So this was a kind of
all your money's held up by Diamond until you do the returns.
Right. So this is sort of an addendum to that conversation. And while I'm not at liberty to discuss the things that were talked about it because it is a private business retail call, I will say this. I have never been so impressed with Marvel in my life as a retailer at the store here.
I think Bryce just fell on the floor. Can somebody throw some water on him?
The call went way longer than expected. They were extraordinarily helpful in their answers, addressing serious concerns retailers have about the company, both behind the counter and the front face of the company with their stories and titles and everything like that, implementing numerous, hopefully immediate changes to their publishing line, as well as some behind the counter stuff as well. This is not the Marvel that I've grown accustomed to. David Gabriel, who is their retailer liaison that I've had at best completely pointless conversations with an email a long time ago, and at worst like just almost hostile conversations with, was like a new man on this call. So I don't know if something's kind of changed internally. I don't know if he's just kind of they let the leash go on him and now he can do whatever he wants, and he's actually coming at us as equals and not just some weird, like we're Marvel, we can do whatever the hell we want. Stuff will come out. We're going to be looking at a very different Marvel Comics. Hopefully, end of this year, by this time next year, I think there will be some pretty significant changes within the company, their publishing line, their promotion across the board. I think these sales have shown that Marvel is they're not
healthy. They're dropping.
Marvel has always been this dominant beast in the market, and DC's come up and bid them occasionally. This is a month-on-month basis where DC and Marvel have nothing major. They're just going at it with just pure comics, and DC crushed them on the versus unit sale, right? Just crushed them. That is just showing an unhealthy nature of Marvel, and I think it's finally starting to sink in. The number ones, the variants, this excessiveness they've done just is not paying off, and they've hit that wall. It's my hope. I think a lot of stuff is going to get announced in the course of the next few months. We've seen things like the Venom number 150 coming out. Oh man, Logan has a new creative team, and they're not renumbering. We have a bunch of teases over the last few days of very classic X-Men characters being put into a book together. We have Gambit. Appears to be Gambit. Appears to be Gambit.
Oh, Toby woke up.
Appears to be Gambit. Silhouette. Still hasn't been filled out yet, but it appears to be Gambit. Rogue, Mystique, Logan, Old Man Logan. What's his face? Archangel. It appears to be kind of a new, maybe Uncanny X-Men, maybe another X. I don't doubt it's
X-Force.
I doubt it's X-Force, but I assume again another traditional X-Men title to kind of go along with X-Men Blue and Gold. We actually did get an email from one of our listeners. Let me actually grab that here real quick. That was talking about the promo for the X-Men Blue and Gold comics that are in the. Let me find it here. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. This is from Elliot. This is from the X-Men Blue and Gold promo material and previews. On it says "Back to Basics." And the kind of the tagline at the bottom says, "You asked for it, you got it." Right. So Marvel shockingly is listening, and I think you're going to hear a lot of stuff. Again, very little specific info was given to us, but there was lots of kind of greater. Here are our
was
plans.
It like things seemed to be addressed, like concerns that retailers had been voicing for a long time had finally been yeah, we're going to be working with you guys.
Nothing. Well, they are more open to more frequent contact with retailers, which is, again, not something Marvel does regularly. They want feedback. They are doing some incredible outreach that I think you'll start to hear about soon. And I am hopeful that these rumors from Bleeding Cool in some fashion or other pan out to be true. Again, we got no specific information about any of these projects, but very hopeful, and that's all I can say about that. And I know it's kind of a dick tease, but I want Marvel.
It's pronounced cock tease. Nobody says dick tease.
I want Marvel.
I don't even know what that is.
I want Marvel to be the most successful they possibly can. I don't care if Marvel outsells DC. I'd love it because that means I'm selling a lot of comics. All right, I want them to be crushing in the market, and I mean they do. They are, but they are.
They could do better.
They could do way better, and they're not coming at it from the position that Marvel normally does. So, fingers crossed, we're getting some huge changes from Marvel coming up, and changes that I think a lot of people have been asking for.
Yeah, I mean...
That's my hope.
As someone who went in really deep on, I guess, was it all new Marvel when they did,
all new, all different, all Marvel now? Something?
Yeah, I don't remember which relaunch it was, but I got a lot of books, and now I'm down to Doctor Strange, which I may or may not cut when the creative team changes.
Aaron's leaving. Yep.
And I'm on Champions, but that's only... I don't know why I'm still on Champions. I like teenage superheroes, but that book has not done anything for me so far.
I'm surprised it didn't kill it with Gwenpool.
That's why it's on the chopping block.
I had numerous
It's
customers.
really funny because talking about Gwenpool, there was one Wednesday because I usually grab them Tuesday midnight here. And the next day I went to work and I chatted you, Ryan, going, "What, the new Champions is out? How did I miss it?" And you were like, "Well, Gwenpool is fully on the cover. You probably just skipped right through it."
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely had a ton of people drop that book because Gwenpool was on the front cover, front and center, and they were like, "No, fuck this," and they just put it aside.
Fuck Gwenpool.
Yeah.
That's my only contribution.
So, I think it might be Logan time.
Oh!
Is it Logan time?
Well, did you want to talk about the Guardians trailer, or did you not watch that one? It actually showed before Logan for me, so.
I know Bryce didn't see it, right? You don't want to talk about Guardians.
How did you know
trailer.
that I didn't see it? I didn't see it, but how did you know that?
You don't watch any of these movies. I didn't see it. Is there a
GoPro on me?
Is there a new Guardians
There's
trailer?
a new Guardians trailer.
I did not see this.
Okay.
You can talk about it if you want.
I saw it.
Wait. If you're going to talk about it,
No, like, I'm not going to, like, say what's in the trailer or
I will literally
anything.
leave the room.
I just wanted to, well, so here's the thing.
well, we're
you
talking about it.
Just briefly.
Just briefly.
Just a Bryce briefly.
Okay, see you in 30 minutes.
My joke.
40 minutes.
No, well, you guys are probably going to, like, kick me off the podcast right now because
Why?
Guardians is towards the bottom of my MCU list.
What? Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it when I saw it, but every time that I watch it, it goes further and further down the list. And I think I love the characters. Yeah. I love the dialogue. I love the look of the movie. Like I love that it's colorful and it's really bright. Like especially when you see it like on Blu-ray on a nice TV.
Well, it's not a dark space movie.
Yeah,
normally we get like it's black and there's stars,
right?
And it's like, oh look, the color is the planet.
The story is what I.
The story's whatever.
Yeah, like I have. Well, it's got real bad like pacing and explanation problems. Like even as someone who like likes the cosmic stuff and follows it, I'm like, okay, you didn't explain who the Kree are, you didn't explain who Thanos is. Like,
so you know that omnibus I handed you yesterday? You just need to buy that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I know that stuff,
yes.
but I'm talking about for the movie audience. Like, it doesn't explain any of that stuff. That being said, like, I am excited for the new movie, and you know, it just looks really good. My concern, you had mentioned, Ryan, that the director he wants to keep as much of the plot out of these trailers as possible.
Right.
So we still have no idea, even with this new trailer. Like, it doesn't really tell you what's going on.
Well, they're going with the oh god, what is the religious organization that was in the book?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. Charlie, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Not offhand.
The Quasar stuff?
No, in Guardians they deal with the religious cult thing that like, sucks all the power and gets power from the followers and stuff like that.
Man, I'm totally blanking on this. During the Annihilation stuff?
No, it's during the Guardian stuff.
Right, but the Bendis run or the
Abbott and Lanning.
Abbott and Lanning?
Yeah,
I do not remember this.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
It basically happens about the same time when the artwork changed to the really crappy stuff.
Like at the end?
Yeah, towards the end. Like this is
okay.
Yeah, there's
I don't remember.
I can't remember what the name, but they're going with that the religious group for the thing. That's what my people are.
My hope is that this establishes Thanos as the big bad, because I'm going to be very concerned if he doesn't make an actual presence until Avengers.
Well, he had to get the glove on in the last movie and say, I guess I got to do this myself.
Right, and hopefully he's going to do some of that himself in this movie, because, you know, like, as I was saying about rereading, you know, the lead up to Infinity Gauntlet, you know, he was, I mean, in the Marvel Universe, he was already like an established, you know, badass. Yeah. But in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, most people don't even know who he is, except for Gamora, but she doesn't really, and I guess Drax a little bit, but they don't really talk about how evil he is. So he's really still this unknown quantity if you're just coming to it as a movie fan and not with all this comic knowledge.
If I had to have a prediction for the way they're going to do the Infinity War stuff, my prediction would be the first movie is going to be him plowing through various areas, getting the gems all together, and probably ending it with using the glove to wipe out half the universe.
Well, no, because they're two separate movies. It's not like a part one, part two. They pulled back from that. So I don't think they're going to end with like a cliffhanger or anything. I mean, maybe they will. I have no idea. But
maybe they will.
I had heard that too.
A couple more movies in between.
Yeah. Because Captain
Is
Marvel's...
it still going to be Infinity War Part 1 and Infinity War Part 2?
No.
Then how are they...
Well,
okay.
There's two movies a year apart, but because there's movies in between them, right?
But why can't you have that be kind of like, you know, bunch of miniseries in between, kind of like you do in the books?
I mean, if he kills half the universe, it's going to be weird movies that take place in that point.
Well, I had thought movies.
Well, Baskin Robbins will know, so we should ask them.
Yeah.
I had thought that they had scrapped that idea too, but when they released like that first behind the scenes footage, when they were talking to the Russos, they straight up said in these two movies, you know, and so that made me think that they're still doing the two-parter, but you know, who knows now?
It's hard to film all together too, even if there's movies in between them.
Yeah, sure. No, they should. I assume they will, especially for any of the contracts they're having to get the big actors back. So.
Right. No, the new trailer I really enjoyed. The music was fun.
Yeah.
Like they did a great job again with the music. I mean, it's like Suicide Squad and Guardians, they're setting a tone for really using music very well in trailers. So
yeah,
I mean, it's just another roster trailer. So
yeah. You're fine. Come on. And Brock, you get a kick out. We're gonna talk about Logan.
You're not kicking me out. I'm walking out.
Okay, you can walk out.
Bryce, you can sit in my chair for this.
Okay.
And I'm going to kick you out when I come back.
Brock has not seen Logan, so he's going to excuse himself.
I have kids and responsibilities.
Oh, this one has 3 kids, and this one has 2 kids. Oh, yeah, I did.
Yes.
Significant other.
Higgins kind of
Toby did not watch Logan for me. I watched Logan.
God, sitting in a seat, I just hate Marvel.
So, before we talk about Logan, and this is going to be full spoilers too, so if you do not want to hear anything about Logan, you should probably turn off now. But we should briefly talk about, before Logan, the Deadpool teaser.
Oh my God, dude.
Which came out.
Did anybody watch it online?
Apparently it's longer.
It's longer online.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
Because I saw it online first.
Stan Lee's in the online version.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Oh, no wonder. I was like,
Oh, really?
I didn't
Yeah.
see him.
That's awesome.
There's a Stan Lee cameo, and also there's a part when Deadpool's in the phone booth where he calls his costumer, I guess, the guy who makes his costume. And I don't read Deadpool, but apparently that was like a little Deadpool in-joke.
So the joke with this little teaser is that he's trying to save a guy that's getting stuck up at gunpoint, and so he goes into a phone booth, and the Superman music starts playing, and it's a still shot of him on the phone booth for like 5 minutes trying to change into his Deadpool costume, and then the guy gets shot and killed. It was very funny.
It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
I just wanted to see your face because I think, like everybody else, I don't know if someone spoiled it for you, but I thought that was the beginning of the movie.
Dude,
Deadpool walking
me
around.
too.
Yeah, no, I really thought it was, and all I could think was fucking Bryce is gonna lose his shit over this.
Well, dude, because I haven't seen any trailers or any spoilers.
Yeah.
So
And then there's all these fucking Deadpool Wolverine rumors going around.
Exactly because of that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there in the theater, and Ryan Reynolds shows up with his fucking
like, what the
Deadpool.
fuck?
I was like, holy fucking shit! He's in this movie. He must be here for like a cameo or something. And I was like, this is the greatest movie ever. And then he starts swearing, and I'm like, what the fuck? Is this like seriously? Is Logan rated R? I literally didn't even know that Logan was rated R.
Yeah, Logan's rated R.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I assumed that it was PG-13 like all the other pieces of shit. I had no idea. I didn't look into it at all. And he says like, not on my fucking watch or whatever he says, and I was like, this is the beginning of the movie. This is the greatest movie of all time. And then he runs into a phone booth, which is fucking awesome.
And you have Nathan come in.
My buddy that I'm watching with is like, who's Nathan Summers? I'm like, that's Cable. And he's like, nerd.
So we have the Cable thing. Did you catch any of the other graffiti?
No.
Well, Charlie sure reminded me because one time he tried to get me lynched at this specific movie screening.
Lynched?
So he absolutely noticed the fucking posters.
No,
Firefly posters.
Not the posters. Although, yeah, they had the Firefly posters. There was another piece of graffiti.
Well, a cock?
Did you guys catch that other piece of graffiti?
What's the other graffiti?
There was another name written on that phone booth.
Is it Gambit?
It is not. Or it could be a name.
Wait, what?
Sometimes the House of L, maybe it's a symbol from the House of L, too, that another name written on that phone booth.
I just fucking say it already.
Was it the hope symbol? Because I didn't see any S's.
Hope.
Hey.
Now,
awesome.
that could just be nothing, right? Or it could be hope.
Like trolling Superman.
No. Cable's
it's your
kid.
hope, Bryce Larsen. It's your hope.
The hope that went missing that only you know where she is, apparently.
Oh, I do know. I do know where she is. And I am the only one. And don't ask me until the next book with her comes out. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure how I guessed.
But it could also just be a Superman joke, right? Because they played the Superman music.
Well, that's why I thought. Because they played the
and-
Superman music
yeah,
if they were
yeah.
trolling Superman.
Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible.
I mean, the whole thing was a motif of him in a phone booth.
Right.
So.
It's like, why the fuck is there a phone booth here?
That was fucking so funny.
good.
I had no idea that this movie was rated R, and he starts swearing, and I was like, this is awesome, and his butt cheeks are against the window.
That's great.
It was so funny, and it was like so awkwardly long.
Yeah.
But it was like the right amount of time that like just as I was like, okay, this is good. He like finally comes out.
I can't. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend season 2.
I haven't
You
watched
watching that?
season 1. Haven't watched season 0. I haven't.
Why is this coming up right now?
Because Crazy Ex-Girlfriend,
butt cheeks.
one of my favorite shows from the last couple of years.
Yes, we know that, Ryan Higgins.
The song, the opening theme song for season 2 has an extraordinarily long, awkward pause at the end of it. Like something happens,
The song?
and you expect it's going to go into the show, and they just hold this shot for like a couple seconds too long, and it's super awkward. And then the show starts, and it's always one of my favorite parts of the show. And when I was watching that on Deadpool, I was thinking like, it's like a Crazy Ex-Girlfriend joke. It's like it's just too long. They just hold this joke. I mean, obviously they didn't create that, but it's funny that I've seen that happen a few times in recent media I've watched, where that uncomfortably long.
You like weird fucking shit, man.
I do.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. I would.
So
love
let's-
to
Well,
join you.
Can we just say real quick, like, I love Ryan Reynolds' dedication to the Deadpool character because, I mean, they haven't started filming yet, right? Like, so he came out, got in all of the Deadpool makeup because you get to see him, without his mask on, and he just did that for this like 3-minute long short. And who knows when the next movie's coming out? So that's just fantastic.
Doesn't it say,
Exactly.
like-
They didn't even give a date. They're like
very soon.
Yeah,
No, not soon enough.
Or not soon enough.
Yeah.
Which is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is such a great line to put. And like, I literally thought that it was the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, that's
you
the
know,
whole
the theater-
joke about it. I mean, I think that they planned it that way. Instead
Oh,
of,
yeah, yeah.
Instead
Because
of
the
an
lights
end-
all dimmed down in the theater that I was in, I was like, oh, I can't wait. And then fucking Ryan Reynolds shows up. I'm like, what the shit?
Yeah.
Oh man, it was so good. And then he starts swearing.
But I think it's brilliant because I think instead of an end teaser, they did this on purpose, and
Yeah.
just to catch everybody by surprise.
Yeah, okay.
I really do think that's the case
I
here.
still wish there was an ending credits thing.
We'll talk about that in a few.
All right.
So Logan, wow, I kind of don't know where to start with this because I've gotten used to the Marvel movies and especially the X-Men movies to kind of be a certain thing, I think let me see, who's the what's his name? Sorry, I'm spazzing. It's Mangold. I forget. James Mangold. Yeah, sorry, I just couldn't think of his first name. I was pretty excited to hear that he was directing Logan because he directed other movies as well, but he directed The Wolverine, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Did he direct any episodes of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
I don't think so. But he directed The Wolverine, which I really liked. I felt there were some problems, especially at the end with the big superhero fight, but I
think that's the studio fucking with it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree.
My hope here was that this would be
Your
a movie
hope here.
much like Deadpool was sort of this, like, they had a struggle to get Deadpool to happen. I had heard similar things that they really struggled to make this a very non-standard superhero movie, and they succeeded beyond my wildest expectations. People ask me, like, is this Marvel's Dark Knight? And I mean, I don't think it's as good as Dark Knight, but is this Marvel's Dark Knight? Yes. This is. If you had to put... Okay, no gun to my head, this is the best X-Men movie that's been made to date. Gun to my head, I would have to think about it. It might be the best Marvel movie to date. I was so blown away by this movie that it was not a big schlocky... I love big schlocky superhero fights.
Yeah.
Love them, right? But this movie comes from such a different place. It's... the phrase I used walking out of the theater, no pun intended, because it's a Wolverine movie, but this movie was just savage. That was the word that came to my head walking out of this movie, and what an ending. We'll talk spoilers here in a few, but just initial thoughts. What an ending to a character, to a 20-year career of this actor. Easily the best performance of the character to date. I mean, I think no question asked. Not even close. I don't want any more X-Men movies. I scrap this Dark Phoenix movie. Let everything rest for a couple years and come back because I mean Deadpool's different. You could do Deadpool, whatever. That's fine. But man, Apocalypse left such a bad taste in my mouth. And
Just in your mouth?
yeah, I just.
You're welcome.
I was actually kind of light on Apocalypse.
Was it Apocalypse or a Nintendo Switch game?
Well, both of them.
Oh, okay.
I actually maybe like Apocalypse more than some people because I didn't actually hate it. I think my expectations were just zero, and my expectations were met. So I was like, okay, well, this was as bad as I expected it to be. It's just a dumb, fun movie, but it's just a dumb movie. Where Logan is...
Well, it was not fun. It was just dumb.
Well, it's a dumb movie, right?
Yeah.
Logan is such an incredible...
Don't defend it, Charlie. Not everything is good.
I don't consider Apocalypse good, but I did really like the opening to Apocalypse. Like, I liked his imprisonment and that kind of stuff.
Do you like the fact that they built this gigantic pyramid and he didn't have the foresight to prevent one block from taking out the entire pyramid? Like,
yes, I like that.
It's dumb, is what
because it's a pyramid.
Death Star all over again.
And an entombing of Apocalypse.
Much like Goyer on the DC movies, Singer, he's got to go. I do not want a Bryan Singer directed Dark Phoenix saga again, because they kind of already did it with X-Men 3.
Yeah.
So, initial thoughts. We'll talk very spoiler stuff. We'll start, Bryce. We'll go around the table this way.
Hugh Jackman, and I don't think that I've ever said this for any superhero movie, except for maybe Heath Ledger. I think that Hugh Jackman deserves an Oscar nomination.
Yes.
And I think that this is easily the best X-Men universe movie. It's tough because I will always hold a candle for X-Men and X-Men 2 for what they did for the genre.
Of course.
But in the world that we live in today, easily the best executed X-Men movie, full stop. Marvel movie, definitely, in my opinion, I think this movie was one of the top 5, if not top 3 movies, probably top 3 Marvel movies. If you add in the DC universe, it doesn't change that at all. This movie was fucking phenomenal. I was I was floored. I mean, I don't know if it's because, and I'll talk more about it, but if I was ever going to waffle on I don't watch spoilers or trailers for any movies, this just solidified it so bad. I did not know, and this is just me being intentionally ignorant, I did not know that this movie was rated R, like I said. I did not know who was in the movie. I think that it got spoiled for me that Patrick Stewart was in the movie, but I didn't know that he'd be this nonagenarian with hair and going to... I didn't know that...
You didn't know that Professor X was going to be dropping the F-bomb left and right?
Exactly. Fucking so incredibly good.
X-23?
I did not know. I knew that he had... So this is what I thought. So I saw from the pictures, there's a little hand holding his hand, right? From just the posters, which I can't avoid. And so I didn't know if it was a little girl or little boy. I assume because they're holding hands in nowadays culture that it was a little girl. And so I was like, okay, it would be really cool if that was X-23, but I'm sure that Fox will fuck it up. I guarantee you that it won't be X-23, and if it is, she'll shoot laser beams instead of have claws. And just I would have bet lots of money that they would have fucked it up that bad. So I went into it full blinders on, and was so blown away by how good it was, even with the classic Fox movie flaws that come with the New Mutants that we can talk about later. That this fucking movie, I don't know how it didn't get higher than a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was such a fucking great movie. Full stop. Beyond being such a great
93% for a superhero movie, especially.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's
exactly what I'm saying. Is that for a movie period, it was 93, but for a superhero movie, it should have fucking gotten extra credit because it had to deal with superhero elements inside of a fucking great movie. And I would love to talk about it more, but
so I have to have a little bit of a disclaimer in the sense that the X-Men movies made me hate Wolverine. Having said that, Wolverine the Movie Part 7 is a movie that I totally loved. Like Bryce was saying, Hugh Jackman was incredible. Just the way that he portrayed this version of Logan that is beaten down and battered and falling apart, like that part where he's putting on his shirt and his hands are shaking, and you never want to see Wolverine that way. And the claws not coming out all the way, and that scene where he's actually
he pulls it out
manually. Yeah,
fucking crazy.
And having Patrick Stewart again, great performance from him. The two of them. I mean, like you said, Ryan. I mean, we're talking 17 years, probably probably almost 20 when you factor in like the lead times for the first movies and stuff like that. Yeah. So, to send both of those characters off that way, I mean, it was heart-wrenching. It was brutal. I think I probably agree with Bryce if we're talking about the kid. Like, that was probably my only part that I didn't like was like the kids at the end. But everything else, X-23, she was amazing. Just her performance was very savage, and the choreographies for the fights and stuff like that. I mean, it was cool to finally see Wolverine be Wolverine, because I always felt that like Wolverine should have gotten a Max comic. Destroy fools.
And he did. There was a Wolverine Max comic.
Oh, was there?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. But this is the Wolverine for people that were like, yeah, Wolverine's a badass, but he just like stabs people, nothing happens. Like G.I. Joe comics or G.I. Joe cartoons, or they shoot people, but they kind of miss. This was a savage ass Wolverine.
Yeah, it was the cool
left and right.
It was the coolest like sequence for Wolverine I'd seen since like the Berserker Rage and X-Men 2, where when Bobby is just like kind of creeping over the counter saying I'm fine, because it was just that level of savagery. So yeah, it was incredible. I'm sure we'll get deeper into it, but I'll pass the mic.
Well, it's no secret that I dislike a lot of the X-Men movie except for First Class. But this one was, I liked it a lot. First of all, I'm really happy that Hugh Jackman finally got his due, because he deserves it. He, more than, Ryan, I'm not going to say the last name, for Deadpool. Hugh Jackman really cares about the character.
Wait, Ryan Higgins cares about the character?
No.
Which Ryan?
Some other Ryan with an R for her last name.
Totally forgot about that. Is he Canadian? I don't know which one you're talking about. Which Ryan?
Shut up. He does rom-com movies.
Okay.
Yeah, movies that Brock watches.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Ryan Gosling. Okay. What about
he's the new Wolverine.
Okay.
Anyways, he loves the character, and he always want to do right by his character, and he tried. It's not his fault that writers, whatever, studios, whatever. Like I don't want to blame it on anybody. It could be a combination of things, right?
It was DC's fault.
But no, I'm really happy he finally got his due. I'm really like beyond happy that he cared. He really cared for 17, 20 years that he wanted to make a movie like this. So I'm really happy for him. X-23, one of my favorite characters. I'm blown away by her. There's some stuff, I've maybe some of the pacing in the movie is going a little off, but I think it's part of it, because you have to actually, the journey it goes with the journey, it's not everything is in a linear way. Xavier was amazing. I just really enjoyed this movie. And this is the other thing. So I saw some talk online going. Some people going, I hate the way of these rated R movies coming out. And I'm like, well, fuck off. First of all, this is only the second one.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's saying this? This is number 2.
Yeah, this is only the second one. And you know what? I'm happy that we got all these superhero movies, right? This is like, it took us long enough for people in Hollywood to take the genre really seriously, going, we can actually make, once they made money, they were like, oh, wait, we can make all this money. But they're all, like, Ryan says, not counting the Dark Knight stuff, but they're all kind of felt the same way. That's because I feel like Hollywood still kind of looks at them as this genre, right? Now, we all read comic books, and we know every single comic book can be completely different. There's a whole world of different types and styles of comic books. So I'm really glad that, Ryan, whose last name I won't say, got his fucking Deadpool movie made the way he wanted it. I'm really glad that the Wolverine got finally the Wolverine due for the way we always imagined Wolverine to be. It's not to say I want a fucking rated R Spider-Man next. It's, I want Spider-Man still to be the Spider-Man he is. I want, these, but, Deadpool, Wolverine should be these dark characters. Punisher in the Netflix series is, gotten to that point where, like, this is the Punisher I always imagined it to be.
Suicide Squad 2 has to be rated R.
Yeah,
There's no reason it's not.
So I'm hoping this will break the mold that people will respect it. Like, Logan is, to me, a movie, not necessarily a superhero movie, right? So The Dark Knight also is, for me, always, there were excellent movies that just happened to be with Batman, right? So I kind of felt like, That's the way they should approach these movies. Not it's a superhero genre. We have to put fucking people in costumes and shit. Yeah. They're all different, and this is why we read comics, and this is why we read multiple comics.
You think about it this way. There's no one in costume in this movie. No one's called by a superhero name. There's no, that's it, right? I mean, it's just regular people. They just got some powers.
So I just hope this will continue, and that we get other movies like this, and not taking anything away from the colorful Marvel movies, or however you want to call it, or the nicer Superman movie.
Well, I am beyond excited for Avengers. I want Avengers to just be nonstop, ridiculous superhero action, start to finish, costume powers, over the top. But you should also do these as well.
Absolutely.
Squad,
exactly.
Yeah,
Squad.
And that's what we've been saying for 10 years.
Yeah, Squad should have been.
Yes,
like this,
absolutely.
Right.
Well, yeah, this almost feels like I almost put it not in the superhero movie category, but almost like where I put Sin City and Watchmen, where it's almost like a deconstruction of what superheroes can be, but it's more of an art piece almost. Like it's just a very honest, like brutal look at a comic book character.
I would sort this under like Western or revenge movie, right? I mean, this is way more.
It's a noir Western.
Yeah,
but
this is
the best of the ones we like are like that. Winter Soldier is like that. The Dark Knight series is like that. Guardians, you can even argue is completely different.
Yeah,
so
Guardians has more to do with Star Wars than it does Iron Man.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So I feel like the best superhero movies, you're starting to see like a trend where they are more honest characters than they have been before.
Ant-Man 2, I put in that. Very different than the rest of the movies.
So I'm hoping this starts a trend not for more rated R movies, but more honesty for our characters that we love.
I agree, 100%. Charlie?
So I kind of feel weird being at the end of the...
Next time we'll go reverse.
I am the one guy that didn't like the movie.
Well, no. I really liked the movie. I really liked the fact that it had a really good sort of emotional core between X-23, Professor X, and Logan. I really liked sort of the fact that they called him Logan, but also acknowledged James and like that kind of they did a very good job of sort of going around the core. I love the fact that, to go to your point about sort of the spandex and all that, the way they use the comic books in this and the way they kind of established like there may be a small shred of fact in these stories. The rest were kind of embellished upon and all that for the masses worked for me. The fact that basically it did follow a generalized... I was talking to somebody at work about this earlier, that it utilized a story that a lot of people are kind of familiar with, sort of the professional and that kind of stuff, where you kind of pair the young girl with the ruthless... But there was so much emotional depth, and there were a lot of...
the young girl was more ruthless than the older gentleman.
Yeah. And the way they kind of utilize the history, and part of the reason why I do consider this Marvel's Dark Knight is, and I don't mean Dark Knight as in compared to the Dark Knight movie, I mean Dark Knight in terms of Dark Knight Returns, in terms of this sort of much darker version of where things would go, this sort of changing up the status quo, and they did a very good job of explaining how those changes happened, how the world got to the point where it was at.
Well, actually, I gotta say, I actually missed a big plot point until I watched it with Lane. Spoilers. He after the movie kind of talked to me about it. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even catch that. So yeah. No, I'll say no. I will continue.
What part?
No, I will continue.
Well,
go on, Charlie.
So, like for me, the fact that it did all this kind of does set it apart, but it's also one of those things where I don't classify it as your typical superhero movie because it's not worried about where it's leaving the world after it's done. It's its own sort of separate thing. It realizes that this is basically the end of this franchise. And well,
let's hope.
I could see them going, well, now we need to do an X-23 movie because it made so much money. But
let's not.
It needs to end here. It needs to have this ending, and the emotional resonance between all the characters who died and what they left behind and all that was very, very powerful.
Yeah, actually, Charlie, I'm glad you said that because I felt that Days of Future Past was like the perfect ending for this X-Men franchise, and Apocalypse shouldn't have happened. It should have been Days of Future Past,
Totally agree.
and then Logan should be the ultimate epilogue to that franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah.
You know, one thing about this movie I liked that I'm happy when I see is the respect of the audience when it comes to either you understand what's going on, and if you don't understand, that it doesn't really matter. They didn't go out of their way to overly explain stuff. They didn't explain anyone's powers. They didn't explain what a mutant is. They didn't explain who Wolverine is or why he's there.
It doesn't matter, really.
Right.
Right.
And there were... I'm going to have to see if I can remember. There was a point in the movie... God, I wish I could remember this. I feel like a lesser movie would have spent 5 minutes explaining the plot back to the audience, and I wish I really wish I should have taken notes.
It's probably a Disney movie.
And remembered when in the movie I thought this. But there was a point where I was like, this is where in a bad movie they would then re-explain the entire movie back to you. And they don't. They just keep going on.
There were a couple points of that were really well, because one thing is that you keep wondering what happened. What did Professor X do? Like, where are the X-Men? And it's just a very quick radio broadcast that Logan switches off.
So apparently in an early draft of the script or maybe even the shooting draft, but they cut it, they were going to flash back and show it. I'm glad they didn't. We don't need it. You don't need to know what happened. That's not part of the movie. It's not important what happened. It's the fact that they are here now in this situation.
Well, it's not that it's not important. It's better that...
Well, it doesn't matter what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't have changed.
You can fill in the blanks yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I love the fact that when you kind of get that clear picture of what happened, you get the picture of Logan's...
clear picture.
Well, you get the clear picture of why bad shit happened, and you get a clear picture of the fact that Logan's kind of been carrying that burden, even though it wasn't him.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, where are the rest of the mutants? Why are there no mutants born? We don't know.
Well, they actually did explain that it was done very tastefully and very brief. The doctor says that basically he put some chemicals into our food products,
sugar drinks.
That it slowly killed the X gene in people.
Right. Okay, sorry, the other day.
And that way they could reintroduce it weaponized and all that.
Yeah. But like you said, Ryan, they didn't spend like 5 minutes on it. It was like one line from the movie.
He wasn't standing there over a vat of chemicals at the very end, just giving this big giant monologue. So
blink and you miss it.
Yeah, I do really like what they did with this movie, and I am worried that we're going to get Logan 2 in 3 years, or an X-23 spinoff or something like that. Like they cannot let this movie sit. Whatever you're going to do, I don't care if they want to do New Mutants and X-Force. They want to kind of do some different stuff with totally different casts. I don't care if they do that, but let the core X-Men sit.
Right.
Redo them all in a couple years and start it all over from scratch.
They have a chance to not fuck it up, because next year is supposed to be Gambit?
No, that's
went
never
away.
Happening. That's never happening.
Really?
It was supposed to be like last year.
Oh.
They kept pushing it back and pushing it back.
All right, so I was hoping...
They eventually killed that.
I was hoping that they would have Gambit coming out, and then they'd have, which is totally separate, could be totally separate from the X universe and the Wolverine universe, and then they would have, New Mutants and maybe X-Force, maybe they're separate movies. And
I think X-Force is Deadpool 3 now.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe it is. But let him in, Dream, Toby. Jesus Christ.
You're still getting it? My Gambit is gone.
My point is
you still get your fucking X-Force? You get your fucking Cable? I don't get my fucking Gambit.
God, he's so good, Cable. So what I'm saying is that there's no way that the people behind money making at Fox Studios are going to be like, there's fucking money to be made here somehow. And there'll hopefully be somebody that says, don't do it. You're going to fucking alienate all your fans. You just built all this goodwill. Let it hang. Well, but there's hopefully somebody that's we can still have an X-Men movie that doesn't sort of shit on this.
Well, they can do Deadpool 2 and New Mutants and do one every 2 years. And then
but they won't do one every 2 years.
Or not New Mutants, I mean X-Force.
They'll do one every year, because that's making them an ass ton of money. It's making them millions of dollars.
Well, here's the thing is that, when X-Men came out, that was the beginning of this modern age of superhero movies. And at the time, I remember Bryan Singer basically saying that, we don't want to do the costumes like the show or like the comics because it look silly. We don't want to have Magneto just flying around because we can't explain that. But in the years since, we've seen that we can be truer to the superheroes and make it work, with like the Avengers and stuff like that. So what I would like to see is, Ryan, let it rest for a year or two, but you do 3 movies.
They won't.
You do the original team. You don't have to do an origin story. Just do, here's Cyclops, here's Angel, here's Jean Grey. Do that team. Second movie, they get captured. Cyclops has to put together a new team. So you get a new Wolverine, a new Storm. And then in the third movie, they get to team up for some greater foe. I think that'd be really awesome. You get finally get to see Wolverine in his costume.
That would be incredible. That would be incredible.
And I think they've proven in other superhero movies that can be done. But it just remains to be seen if Fox would do that or
Fox
the easier way.
If it was Marvel Studios, they would do that exactly.
Right.
Or they already would have.
Yeah, that's true. Same thing with Fantastic Four. If Marvel had that, then we'd have like a legit Fantastic Four movie.
Exactly.
There's nothing sadder to me that we don't have a Fantastic Four movie from Marvel.
Yeah.
It would be amazing.
Dude, how fucking great was Logan? Dude,
high bar, man, high bar.
I mean, I want to go through the whole movie and just deconstruct. Did anybody get the feeling of like the metaphor of that fucking water tank and Cerebro? Did you guys get that? Where it's like this enormous sphere that he's in, and you're used to seeing him in it, like ruling the world or manipulating it like a puppet master.
And now he's closed off from it.
Exactly. Now he's closed off from it. Now he's the crazy guy. Now he's like trapped inside it, and he can't do anything about it. Oh, that was so fucking good.
Can I play devil's advocate a little bit here?
Yeah.
Wolverine is going over the border to make money to buy a fucking boat.
Yeah.
He's fucking Wolverine. Why can't you just take the boat? Now, Charlie explained it to me last night when I was watching his children.
One of the fucking greatest things about this movie is how it plays on the whole, oh my god, the fucking Shane, the whole like parallel / metaphor with the movie Shane was so good. It was like fucking crazy. I wish that I'd prior to tonight put together like a list of all these awesome movies of like these ex-badasses or quote-unquote ex-badasses that have to like come back for one more fight, right? Like Unforgiven or it also kind of parallels back to X-Men 1, his very first appearance, where he's just like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm a badass, but I'm just going to go hide in Canada, and I'm going to do cage matches, and I'm not going to... And then Rogue shows up, and he has to become a father figure to her. It, like, harkens back to his, like, 20 movies ago. Or, sorry, 20 years ago. 9 or 10 movies ago.
Well, a question about that boat thing. Did they... I mean, I have an idea, but did they never really talk about what his goal there was, right?
I think it was to take Xavier out... So
away from
everybody
people.
Else is safe.
And just... kill him or
just keep everybody else safe.
I think it was the
yeah.
He didn't have
live out Xavier's days and then probably shoot himself.
Right. He said
the whole
himself as a
thing.
nonagenarian. Logan must have known that. He's like in his 90s, like nobody's living much longer.
Yeah.
And Ryan, did you catch the fact that the Logan universe takes place after Trump builds his wall? Did you get that part?
Oh, right. When they're at that big wall, and he's in the guys that are in the guys that are in the limo, right? They're like USA. Yeah, because they're in El Paso, right? They're on the border.
Yeah. And that world looks pretty fucked up.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
I'm just saying,
it does.
But yeah, Logan, fucking incredible.
Yeah,
it's also bittersweet when old Logan is carrying old Xavier around.
Oh yeah.
I have to go get him, and he's like stumbling around carrying Xavier around. Oh, it's bittersweet.
So when did everybody get choked up? Like,
I didn't really get choked up. I thought it was a very touching movie, but people were like, "Oh, I was bawling during the end." I'm like, I wasn't, but it was a emotional movie, but I wasn't like super.
Well, I got choked up when he buried Xavier, and I got choked up at the very end. As stupid
when she turns the cross,
and she turns.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert! When she
spoiler
when she turns the cross eyes, I was like, why? Like, we don't know. Is Logan not a Jew? Like, why is there a cross here? Like it didn't... So I was like, what? But then she turns it sideways. I was like, this is going to be the stupidest thing. No, that's okay. That's pretty cool.
My one like complaint is the fact that I did start to tear up. And it was when Logan buried Xavier, and he starts to break down.
Yeah.
But then he stops, and I felt that was a missed opportunity, because having someone as badass and well regarded as Logan get that chance to grieve, I think would have been a very powerful thing for everybody. And I started to, but then immediately, like, he just started to go into a rage. And I was like, okay, well, the moment's passed now. That's probably my only real complaint.
That scene worked for me because it wasn't just. He kind of went into that general fuck the world kind of mode. He tried to turn on the truck and go away, and wasn't allowed to abandon Laura at that point.
Speaking of trucks, when he's kicking the shit out of that truck, maybe the funniest scene in that movie.
See, everybody.
There's so many funnier moments. Like, what about when Patrick Stewart goes bah? Like,
I laughed really hard when he was beating the hell out of that truck.
No, don't get me wrong. That was really fucking hard. Funny. But like the sarcasm between Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman,
really
like
good.
in several several moments of that movie were fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like.
And if you see interviews with them, just since they've done the movie and everything, you get the impression that this was the first movie where they got to actually display their actual relationship over all of these films. Where Patrick Stewart's like, "This is my last one. Fuck, I'm gonna have some fun with this."
Oh,
so
let's
talk
Patrick
about
Stewart also fucking deserves an Oscar. So my definition for like an Oscar, like understanding that superhero films don't win Oscars. Knowing nod to Higgins. But for the acting categories is like I consider like an Oscar-worthy actor, an actor that a supporting actor or actress that that just loses himself in the role, and you just don't see the actor. I mean, to the Suicide Squad point of winning an Oscar, like Jared Leto, I still see him as Jared Leto behind all the makeup. Like most Marvel superheroes, like Sansa Stark as Jean Grey is like the worst fucking like either acting and or casting ever. Like there's a lot of good casting, but other than Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, there's nobody that, in my opinion, that has lost themselves more in a role for a superhero than Hugh Jackman does for Wolverine. And the whole time I'm just like feeling so sorry for him and just feeling like he is this old.
He looks like a mess in this movie,
and he acts it so good. And I'm just like, was like when he wakes up hungover to go beat up the gangbangers that are like trying to jack his car or his rims.
Just right at the very beginning.
When he's
just like
taking shots to protect the car. That was.
It was incredible, and he's like stumbling around. He's like the acting was fucking incredible. It was so good. I was like, holy shit, like who is like this guy that's playing Wolverine? I don't even know. He's like such a great character.
And he kept up that limp too, which that's a small thing that actors can forget in certain roles, in certain parts and stuff, but throughout the whole movie, like every time he was walking, I was like feeling every step for him because it was like he shouldn't be moving this slowly.
Exactly. And the adamantium poisoning, being a great excuse that like they haven't even addressed in any of the previous 10 movies that he's been in, or 9 movies. But it's just such an easy way to tie a bow on the whole franchise or his involvement in it.
Let's talk about a few of the characters that are in this.
Please.
Well, I just had one question. I don't know if it's going to step on that, but how closely does this fall in with the actual Old Man Logan story?
No,
I have not. I want to now, but
in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Yeah, they couldn't have. They couldn't have.
Other than the fact that
he is old and his name is Logan.
Okay.
That is where it stops.
All right.
He travels around with blind Hawkeye.
No, you're right. But let's establish that this movie
Yeah.
would never have happened without Old Man Logan. Because the whole premise is the fact that like the story idea of...
But I kind of like this though. They kind of took like an idea from the comic book.
Okay, disagreeing with me?
Okay, Old Man Logan as a movie would be fucking stupid. Old Man Logan, the comic, is about him and a blind Hawkeye driving around in the spider buggy fighting rapey inbred Hulks.
Yes.
That's what the comic's about.
Oh, okay.
It would be horrible.
Yeah. So
this is his Mark Millar hate.
No. I don't. I mean, people like Old Man Logan. I've not read it. It's Mark Miller, so I didn't read it. But
you haven't fucking read it, and you're talking shit
I read
about
the first
it?
couple issues. I didn't care for it.
Okay,
but,
look, for someone that's read it, it's actually really good. Would it make a good movie? I don't know. It depends. How do they fuck up Batman vs Superman so bad, but make Old Man Logan so good? I can't tell you. Anyway, the point is that it's more the idea of like, without the Mark Millar story, they would never have like said, and without Deadpool, they would never have said, let's make a rated R Wolverine movie about him when he's an old man and just like
do a dovetail of this whole franchise and just get it done. He's old and he's past his prime, and you get to see an element of Charles Xavier who wasn't not in Old Man Logan. Nope. But the idea is the same. Like, what was fucking crazy, and I don't want to like jump ahead, but like, how has this great, phenomenal idea not been addressed more often or at all? Because I can't remember it ever being addressed. Of like, Charles Xavier has the most powerful brain in the fucking Marvel universe, and he's doesn't have regenerative powers. He's gonna get old. Fucking degenerative brain diseases are extremely common in old people. Like, what happens when that starts to take effect on him? How has this not been addressed in the Marvel universe? I don't know, but it starts happening to him at some point in this history.
They kill him every 10 years or something.
Well, and then the fact that
they've only killed him one time. They've only killed him one time, right?
Back like X-Men 200, wasn't he dead back then?
No, that was a fake death.
They've had
they're all fake.
They have had a lot of fake deaths where Xavier is supposedly killed or missing.
This has not been addressed, and it was addressed, I think, so beautifully. Like when you see Patrick Stewart with hair, you're like, holy shit! Like, it's never been addressed, because I just always assumed that he was just totally bald. I never even considered the fact that he was what's that hairstyle where you're going bald and so you just shave your head instead? I don't know what it is. It even has a name, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But Patrick Stewart was so fucking good as this like old crazy dementia-stricken nonagenarian. For those of you that don't know or didn't get that, octogenarian is when you're 80 years old in your 80s. Nonagenarian is when you're in your 90s. I don't know if you got that, but there you go. You're welcome. And so anyway, Patrick Stewart was so fucking good. Talk about supporting actor. Like nomination, he was fucking great too. So
we were gonna have a couple questions, but I do want to actually. There's something about Logan I want to mention before we go, and that is we have not talked almost in any way, shape, or form about the villains of the movie. So Donald Pierce, first of all, interesting take on Donald Pierce, but I thought he was a really good job, and again, a very low power, no superpowers, just very minor tech.
Which, by the way, is exactly how it should be.
Right. In a different movie, maybe it'd be something else, but I really like how they played off Pierce. Yeah, I like how they played off Pierce in this movie. And yeah, that's a deep... Donald Pierce is not an average X-Men villain. I mean, that's a bit of a deep cut there.
I hadn't heard of him before.
Yeah,
really?
He's in one of the Reavers. One of the Hellfire Club guys.
Reavers?
Oh, like back in the Claremont days?
He was one of the...
Wasn't he part of Hellfire at one point?
He was one of the Hellfire Club...
His origins was the Reavers.
Right, but aren't they the Hellfire Clubs like the guys that were like the Reavers? Aren't they the former Hellfire Club guys that get all fucked up and they form the Reavers? So anyway, he's part of the Reavers, which is like an X-Men villain.
I know that they're Lady Deathstrike's crew. I thought that they were totally separate. The only overlapping thing is that Donald Pierce is the
Black King.
No.
He was king at one point,
probably
right?
the White King.
Well, he was a king of something at one point.
I'm done.
So the other character, X-24 or villain Logan or Albert, or I was thinking like I almost thought like, are they gonna make this guy Patch? Like, what are they doing with this guy? But my actual first thought when I saw that was, that's supposed to be Sabretooth, right? Did anyone else get that vibe that was maybe originally supposed to be Sabretooth? Because he has the same look.
So I read an article with quotes from the director who like didn't speak to that directly, so I can only intimate what he said. But the color of what he was saying was that basically he did not want to introduce any other X-Men movie elements, especially since Wolverine 1 was so shat upon. Even though Sabretooth wasn't the worst part of it by a long stretch, he didn't want any element of oh, so this is the Sabretooth from X, Y, and Z movie, and he wanted this to be just its own standalone thing.
Okay. But he looked like Sabretooth. I'm not crazy, right? I mean, he looked like the movie Sabretooth.
He's got the side patch.
Right. And the short hair.
I can see that.
When I watch Lane over there, he called him Dakin, which I thought was kind of an interesting idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
It would have been so easy for them also, I mean, to that point, like, instead of a third claw, to just do a claw out of the back of his arm and actually make him Dakin.
Yeah.
Or whatever you pronounce it.
Fine.
So
make fun of my fucking voice again.
What?
Nothing. Move on.
Missed opportunity there. Who played Deadpool? Anyway, so missed opportunity there. I know that this is getting like probably the most like shit from the whole movie is this whole Alfred clone X-24 thing.
Watching it, I thought it was perfectly fine.
Yeah,
but
me too. Yeah.
But I think some people were like, no, stupid. I'm like, they explained it during the course of the movie. They tried to make these kids. It didn't work. So they're like, oh, we could just create this soulless husk.
Well, yes and no. I mean, like, I think that it did work. It just wasn't optimal.
Not controlled.
They couldn't control them.
Yeah. And so they were trying to make it even better.
Yeah.
And so that's X-24. So...
And I mean, who the hell's going to kill Wolverine but Wolverine, right? I mean, at the end of the day, he kills himself, right? I mean, that is his...
Fucking awesome.
He is his greatest villain, you know? I mean, no one's going to take him out but himself. So.
Yeah.
And I know this is weird to say, but I did like that there's always that sense in a lot of movies where they kind of feel like the next threat needs to be bigger than the previous threat. I didn't feel that in this movie. Like, the core of this movie was around the characters, and the threat didn't need to be any bigger. They didn't need to have jet planes, and, like, it was very sort of grounded, the villains. It felt very...
Well, I think the best scene is when they're in the house with the family.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was my biggest like gripe of the Wolverine, right? I was like, the setup is great, and then they go into some fucking Transformer mode at the end. It's like, that was a perfect setup for a depowered Wolverine to having to fight on his own, which we kind of in ways saw in this one.
The fact that they didn't end the Wolverine with the samurai fight is like such a...
Yeah.
The fact that they had to go into the big giant superhero battle at the end really ruins the end of that movie.
It fucked that movie.
Yeah.
In the arse.
But this, I mean...
Wow.
It did!
There's all sorts of stuff we can say about this movie.
This movie is fucking just so good, dude.
Absolute must watch.
Oh, my God.
Easily best X-Men, and I would think it ends up on all our top Marvel lists, too.
It actually also has the best trailers of all the X-Men movies put together.
So apparently they're going to release like a black and white cut.
Really?
Ooh. Yeah, like that real noir...
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I was reading about that earlier today. So
I want to go watch that at the shitty theater too to really give it.
Yeah. We saw it. So I went to the Cinemark XD, which is Cinemark's Century.
Your fucking XD.
Well, no, I had asked people if anyone had been, and not a lot of people. Not a lot of people had been. I wanted opinions on.
All
this
right, what's your opinion?
I think it's a fucking amazing theater. It's not gonna match.
You choose your seat there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's reserved seating, full recliners and everything. I don't think it's... People have said the video's not up to IMAX. To me, it was pretty indistinguishable. The audio, though, you could feel it.
Well, you don't want IMAX because you charge an extra fucking $4 for that shit.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
It matters to me.
I mean, the matinee was $12.50, and it's 2D, so...
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your $16 movie. Whatever, it's awesome. I don't care. I mean, I could feel the volume of this movie in my soul. Like, it was so loud, but not like ear blasting loud.
I think that might just be the quality of the movie too.
It was just like the volume at this theater was like the perfect volume. Because sometimes you ever go to the theater and it's like too quiet.
Yeah, they do that on purpose though. They do that so they could sell the fucking IMAX ticket. So one is too low and one is too fucking loud. They do that shit on purpose.
Well, good. They got me to go to the Cinemark XD over in San Jose, and it's an awesome theater.
Oh my God. Can we talk about how they dispatched Donald Pierce and the scientist guy?
I love it.
That was fucking the best execution of villains in any movie
ever.
Were
you complaining about the kids before we go on to the questions? Who was saying you didn't like the kids, or you care?
Yeah, so
I thought it was totally fine.
So
for
I
the plot.
loved X-23.
Right, you got Richter.
Richter was fucking awesome. But talk about missed opportunity. They did everything right, and then they say a bunch of names that don't even correlate.
No, they're not. They're not supposed to be anyone because anyone you know is dead. They're not supposed to be real characters.
Okay, but they don't. But they don't have to be. The whole idea here is that this is the new generation, right? This is the
whole idea is
the last generation.
What, I'm not wrong. What?
It's the last generation unless they have some way to proliferate the X gene again.
Okay,
essentially they were harvesting DNA from the dead mutants to create these children.
No. Apparently, it was freely given. Logan seemed to know that he had given his DNA to them.
Logan gave his DNA because he was part of the Weapon X program.
Yeah, they just had
already
it on file
had
from
his DNA.
program.
But
Okay.
But all the stuff with like Caliban when he's like save him to take a sample of because of his.
Oh,
they
Stephen
were
Merchant. Can we talk about how great he was? Like slight comedic relief without being corny. I was like, oh, this fucking like goofy asshole, but he was really good.
Like not explaining stuff. It's just a dude, and they never talk about who he is or what he can do or what his powers are or how he works.
It doesn't matter.
Right? They kind of mention like, oh, we could track stuff, but it's like whatever. They don't really get into it. And no, again, I like that. I really like that. It's just it doesn't matter who this guy is. He's just their friend. It doesn't matter who he is.
Oh,
and if you're a comic fan, you're like, is that Caliban?
That's exactly what I thought.
Oh, cool.
From that piece of shit Apocalypse movie. Because he didn't play him in Apocalypse, did he?
Was Caliban in Apocalypse?
Yes.
He was, but
What?
it wouldn't make any sense.
I don't even remember that.
He's the only part I actually remember besides Psylocke.
Well, I don't know. Like maybe there's something that hasn't been
Was he a kid?
described in the
No.
comics.
He's a full-on that they kept going back to
He
him.
could have been young in the
Psylocke was like his protector, and then fucking Apostle came and go, I want that one. I might remember that wrong, but is that right? Yeah.
That's about right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. Wow, I completely blocked that out of my memory. Okay, I knew Silent. I knew. I forgot he was in the movie entirely. Wow. Okay.
Hey, before we wrap this up, Lane, do you want to say anything? Because I think you're the only one with a different opinion.
Oh.
Come on, Lane. I'm putting you on the spot. Come on, Lane. I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't know your opinions. I don't know.
No, it's okay for you to have another opinion. Come on.
It's the same.
Doesn't matter. Come on.
We all loved it.
Yes.
I like it.
Okay.
That's not what you said after the movie. You said all kinds of shit after the movie. I'm putting you on the spot. Come on.
What, you want me to argue?
Yeah? Because after the movie, it's like, I don't know.
Okay, while Lane is
fucking the
thoughts,
Wolverine is better because, and all that other stuff.
Can we talk about how self-driving trucks in the future would not hit passengers? That would represent so much more loss to the companies that own them than killing a horse and their owners.
Feel like the future.
I missed part of. What did you say?
The self-driving trucks, those trucks on the freeway were all self-driving trucks.
Yeah, but they hinted that might have been the people are trying to force them off the land.
Yes, and no. The one that drove them off the road, yes, were maybe controlled. But the ones in the oncoming lane, they I'm sure we're not controlling them all because it wouldn't be in their best interest to derail hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this one guy's water rights.
Well, I think they wanted to get. I mean, if they wanted to get his land, then that would potentially be worth a lot more money. So maybe.
It wasn't. It had nothing to do with the.
It didn't look like they were.
It didn't have anything to do with the water rights. They were trying to use the water to force him off his land so they could take his land.
So there was perfectly timed trucks in the oncoming lane that were automated, but were also willing to just mow this guy down. Anyway, that's a huge nitpick. So the New Mutants, I loved Richter. I mean, your own argument is sort of going against itself that you're saying that they're all extinct, but, they still had the New Mutants in Richter and in X-23 as a young mutant. They could have very easily... Because one of the names that was named was Bobby. I thought it was going to be Roberto da Costa, which is Sunspot. Yeah. And so whether or not they did... I mean, because that's a missed opportunity. That would have been a cool, little CG moment. They had fucking Plant Girl that's covering people in vines. They had, icebreaker breath girl with she goes and makes things really fucking cold.
I thought Richter was going to start shouting Rufio. I thought the Lost Boys there.
Hey, they gonna do a prequel to that.
Is that because he was Filipino? That's fucking racist.
No, it's because he's like the leader. It's because he's like the leader of the Lost Boys. He's like Rufio from Hook.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, so no. It was just a missed opportunity. They could have had one of the names just been Tabitha and just not even had her do time bombs. They could have just had that fucking name. Instead, they did a bunch of names that were non-existent.
They should have had Maggot on there. Then it would have been perfect.
God, if only.
Lane, what do you? Lane, you're a last-minute addition to our beautiful 300th episode here. We're talking Logan.
Oh my God! It's the 300th episode.
This is the 300th episode.
What? Happy birthday!
Hey! Spoiler! Logan is rated R.
I'm very impressed with myself that I didn't know that.
Lane, I'll put you on the spot.
Logan,
if you had a complaint, let us know.
It's not. I like discussions and I like different opinions, and Lane had a bit of a different opinion after the movie. Sorry to put you on the spot. I just think it's fair.
Yeah, I don't think it was too different. I mean, I still think it's a really good movie. Just I didn't think it was the top movie, but I mean, mostly just because
what was better?
I don't think it was better, but to me, I personally think that The Wolverine was almost on par with 1-to-1 with the story and the problems. like the same problems, same story.
Wildly
issues,
disagree, but
same
agree.
director. So
Agreed to wildly disagree.
because no, that's fine. I mean,
No, I see what you're saying. I really like the Wolverine. I just think it had way bigger flaws in the movie.
I really like 90% of the Wolverine.
Right.
It's
That's
just that.
better.
exactly. It's just the end.
Yeah,
exactly. That's
No,
a better way of
I
putting
agree.
it.
So do you not like X-24? I mean, is that kind of your problem? Or?
No, I didn't mind X-24. I thought there were more issues in other parts of the movie. like
That's wrong.
little things like, I mean, sure, some of them were just minor things. Like I said, to me, they didn't really feel like the future, for one.
No, but it's only a decade left.
I like that. I really like that. I actually really like the fact that it's not like everyone's in white silver jumpsuits.
Yeah,
and
what do
it's
you-
all
yeah.
No, I
Star
don't
Trek.
want to go that far. But I mean, like, it just felt like, okay, they showed you the was it the corn machines?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
great. And the self-driving truck.
But
There
then,
was
like,
like
every
enough
s-
elements, but not too many.
Yeah. But then every city they went to like cities that had beat up pickup trucks and like.
Oh, there's totally going to be beat up pickup trucks
Yeah.
in 2129.
No, I
let alone
agree, but
Yeah, we're in
2029.
Oklahoma and South Dakota. Like, what do you
but
think
I'm
these
saying,
are like
like,
industries of capital that are just going to be wildly fine cars?
I didn't do this to beat you up. I really just wanted to get your opinions out.
I
You know what he's getting
I see
into.
what you mean. Like,
But,
like
yeah.
this, like same cell phone technology, right? Like that was a big thing where they're using the exact same phones that we're using now. But you got to extrapolate like 10 years from now, we're going to be using like, I don't know, paper thin, like touchscreens
Yeah.
and stuff.
Will we, though?
And not to
Maybe.
mention,
I mean,
Well,
it's
I
already being
don't.
concepted.
Well, I don't.
No.
Well, we can
Battery
also go
technology-
backwards, though.
I don't-
I mean,
I
we
don't-
can go backwards.
I don't-
fully-
Trump rules the
One at a
fucking
time, one at a
world.
time, one at a
Fucking
time,
shit
one at a
goes
time.
down the shitter.
One at a time.
Considering I still know people who use flip phones.
Yeah, that's true.
You're going to
Yeah.
see a mix,
Yeah.
regardless of how technology changes.
And
Yeah.
as thin as phones are getting, look at battery technology. Battery technology has not advanced in the past 10
Phones
years.
are getting bigger.
That's what
People's phones have been getting bigger in the last couple of years, like the Galaxy and the bigger iPhone and everything. The phones are absolutely getting bigger. They're not getting smaller.
Well, they're getting
point is-
bigger but thinner also. Like they're spreading out surface wise.
yeah,
but then,
yeah.
My point is the battery technology will never allow
Stop
anybody
talking about
to
the
use...
fucking phones. Let's get back to the movie.
No, but this is the only argument he's posited so far. Keep
well,
going,
no.
Lane.
On top of that, though, don't forget where did he start? Vegas. Vegas is a major city,
What?
and we're not seeing anything futuristic in Vegas.
He was not in Vegas.
What?
Well, at one point,
Well,
he was going.
it wasn't at the start, but when he left, Vegas is one of the
Yes.
Vegas is one of the places he hit
They
at.
have that big they have that big like LCD display that he drives
No,
by.
I mean, I'm gonna go with like the future doesn't have to go forward. There's plenty of stories where we watch fucking anime. There's movies like Fist of the North Star. Everything has gone to shit.
Good point, Lane.
Yeah.
You just got Reynolds. I'm sorry, Sidler. Sorry.
Wing Rames?
Sorry.
Fuck you, not too.
Oh, wing rims.
And then I don't know. Did you talk about the Xavier thing?
Oh, being like the second best part of the movie?
No, the like to me, I love the idea what they planted, but I know a lot of people missed the whole thing about what happened in the past.
Oh, incredible how subtly they did that.
Yeah.
They just like addressed it kind of. Oh my god, that was fucking one of the best parts of the movie. Is like, why are a bunch of the X-Men dead if not
No,
disbanded?
I honestly say I actually did miss that part until he brought it up. But I probably would have caught it, maybe. I don't know. I don't know my own intelligence. I might be a dumb guy to watch this a second time and misses it again.
You're
I'm
smart.
not-
You're as smart as you are good looking.
No, I'm just saying. I did miss it the first time. I didn't catch it.
Okay. You don't even know what I said.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. Might be a good thing.
We're going to move on to some questions here. I'm going to try to power through because we got a ton. A lot of people sent us questions for our 300th episode. So let's hit these
Oh
fast.
my god, I could talk about
It's
this.
the first question how we're still fucking existing.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit. First one,
back.
Bryce, if
I'm
you
back.
want, there's a stool somewhere. We have a extra.
He can sit on the step ladder.
Yeah, there's a step ladder and there's the chair. So this is from Random Geek on Twitter. He asks,
Random geek.
Random Geekdom says, with the success of
Bryce is going to
Deadpool,
the bathroom.
with the success of Deadpool and now Logan, what mutant or mutant team would you like to see get the Fox R-rated treatment?
No, I don't
X-Force.
want.
X-Force.
I don't want no Fox. Well, actually, no.
Yeah, I mean, I
Maybe
think
now
X-Force
do.
is the only logical
Yeah.
answer.
For Fox's sake, I think that they should. What? The studio. For
Yes.
Fox's sake.
For Fox's sake.
Yeah, we get it.
Higgins about to mute me. I think that they should do it. Uncanny X-Force.
Rick Remender treatment.
But X-Force.
The Dark Team.
X-23 could still be around.
Justin asks, at the beginning of the year, Jeff Johns announced a new DC show. Has it been revealed yet? No. As far as I know, it hasn't. We're still waiting on that. Hopefully soon.
It's called Ryan Higgins Sucks.
A quick question. We're going to go through these questions, but how are we going to get Julian's question?
He just asked us on here. Yeah. So this is from Darfox8. One of our longtime listeners, good friend. He says, do you guys think the extended film universes are going to go out of style anytime soon? Many of these films work on their own, but they have obvious connective tissue to films in the franchise. Our audience is going to grow to dislike this with the whole extended film. So like more standalone, less expanded universe, less Marvel Cinematic, DC Cinematic Universe stuff.
No.
They make too much money.
Yeah.
I mean, the question is soon. Then no. Will they eventually fall out of decades long stop?
When we get the Squirrel Girl movie, we'll know we're heading down a bad path.
People said that about Watchmen, though. Watchmen. I mean, I give a lot of shit to Zack Snyder. I fucking loved Watchmen.
Well, I think very few things lend themselves to this. Star Wars does. Star Trek kind of can pull it off as far as like a franchise. Comic books definitely. Do we need the Harry Potter extended universe? Do we need the
box office?
What are they doing? They're doing all this like you're talking the Lost Boys prequel, right? I mean, all these.
Yeah, but I think that's just Dante Basco really want to do a project, and that's his.
But I mean,
thing.
Do all these things lend themselves to this? And
not everything, but there's a really good TV show by the Chicago that have like 5 fucking shows at this point,
like Chicago
and they
Fire, Chicago
dude,
Law,
but they're
Chicago.
fucking amazing how they work together.
Mm-hmm.
They like work really, really, really well together as an extended universe.
And again, I think it's possible to do, but will they fall out of style at some point? Yeah, but
I hope not though. Like, I mean, going back to fucking me and Charlie loving the fucking Hercules and Cena, I loved it that it was a shared universe, man.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it that characters go back and forth.
Where's my damn Autolycus spin-off show?
Did I tell the story
There was
in
a
the podcast?
point in time when I was convinced they were going to do that.
Me too.
Did I tell the story in the podcast when I left Doctor Strange and there were like these 2 older women talking about the movie? Did I mention that on the podcast?
Doesn't
Let
sound
me guess.
familiar.
They fucking hated it, and this is your story.
No. They no. So after we watched, they stayed through the end credits, and they were older. They were much older. And
2 older ladies?
Yeah, they were watching Doctor Strange. And so when they walked out, one of them was like, "Oh yeah, I really like that movie." They're like, "I know that's Thor in the end credits, but I haven't seen his movies. Like, do I need to go watch those?" And the other lady was like, "No, I think it's just a fun thing that they throw in there." She was kind of explaining like the after credit scenes and stuff. This is clearly someone who's not seen very many of the Marvel movies.
It's like my mom.
And someone outside the normal demographic of these movies, but she seemed to totally understand it, even if she didn't. Or let me rephrase that. She seemed to like it, despite the fact that she didn't totally understand it, because they were talking about. She's like, "Oh, I really like that movie. I just didn't know who that character at the end was." And I think audiences are willing to, how many people that were kids saw episode 1 for the first time without seeing any of the Star Wars movies. Hundreds of thousands, right? Tons of people saw episode 1 that never had seen Star Wars before. And they like it or didn't like it on their own accord.
There are people who went to episode 7
that had never seen Star Wars.
Yeah,
Sure,
which is really weird.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that huge missed opportunity to not have an after credit scene. I mean, do you remember the after credit scene for Age of Apocalypse with Mr. Sinister's briefcase?
Yeah.
What the fuck? How do you leave that alone and not come back to that? I want Mr. Sinister on the big screen.
Well, they might, but it is also kind of pointless because it's like, all right, well.
Why is it pointless? It would be fucking incredible.
No, but I think
Mr. Sinister rated R movie. Hello, I'm Pretty Boy. Leader of the Nasty Boys.
PETA would have a field day.
In Logan, a after credit scene would all have nothing to do with the movie you just watched or the universe you just watched.
Right, exactly. So I thought, and I do think now, sleeping on it 24 hours later, that because I was expecting, I would have put real money on they're going to flash back to the grave and a stone is going to just like Superman rock a little bit. Like,
no, okay.
One of the stones in the grave is just going to.
Here we go. Here's one for you. What would you say if they went back to the stone and suddenly let's say a very metallic boot shimmered into existence right next to it, and a cybernetic arm reached into the grave and started to pull the corpse of Wolverine out, and it was Cable. See, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that in this movie.
Yeah, no, neither would I. That sounds terrible.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. A movie like Logan does not need this connective tissue. But his question here is, a movie like Logan stands on its own perfectly fine, but there is connectivity back to these other movies.
Oh, yeah, I moved on from the question. I'm sorry.
Next question.
No. I going to those grandmas. I kind of like that because the other one will go watch those Thor movies.
Yeah.
So I actually think it works just fine whether you want to watch them or not. But I think it'll grow interest. I don't remember when I was a kid, I read Spider-Man and there's the cameo by Punisher in one issue. And then later on, I'm like, there's Punisher issues. I'm going to go read those too because the one time he showed up in Spider-Man.
Toby, how many people went to see Fast 7 that never saw any of the others? Probably
plenty of people. I still think you should watch Fast 5 as the first one.
Right. And again, these things... the first Harry Potter movie I saw was the fourth one, right? And I never read the books or anything like that. So this is just how people can jump into these things forever.
I do want the Callisto
and if you want to see more, you can. I don't think they're going to fall out of fashion as long as they're so popular.
All right, so here's the after credit scene for Logan that wouldn't diminish its sort of how. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. The fact that it was like it didn't have when every other one in the past decade has had an after credit scene. I appreciate it and I get that. They could have had just a 1 minute scene of the kids wandering north and getting away so that you have some closure. Will they meet Alpha Flight? Will they not meet Alpha Flight? What? They're fucking on the border of Canada. How is that so fucking funny?
Because it's Alpha Flight?
Just Puck comes walking up.
Yeah, I was about to say, if they introduced some new characters in just the after credit scene, it would be just for you,
so
Bryce.
I wonder who has Alpha Flight. Anyway, it doesn't matter. My point is that
that would have been fucking great.
They could have had some innocuous scene just to sort of have some closure because people fucking stick around for those after credit scenes and they didn't have one and that was a bummer. My theater,
people should stick around for the fucking credits.
Yeah, Toby, I agree.
Another question.
Yeah,
from a good friend,
the man.
From our good friend Brandon, who actually might get back on this podcast soon. Next time he's up here, Brandon Fried. Yeah. I'm hoping we'll get him back on soon. We just shipped out some books to him. He just asked. Let me rephrase this. He just read Chris Claremont and Frank Miller's Wolverine miniseries for the very first time. Probably because of Logan. So his question is, what is everyone's favorite Wolverine story? Since we're talking about Logan, that's tough. I actually thought about this for a little while. I don't think there's a lot of great Wolverine stories out there. I think he's a great character, but I've never been a big fan of his solo comic series. My favorite Wolverine stories are when he's interacting with the X-Men, because he plays off those characters so well.
Well, in the older X-Men issues, there are definitely issues where Wolverine's a focal point, and I would count those also. I mean, a Wolverine story doesn't have to be in the solo book.
Yeah, is his question the solo book only, or just in general?
Just favorite Wolverine story.
Okay, because if it's everything, then I would probably say for me it's the From the Ashes trade paperback, that's when Rogue joined the team, and Wolverine and Rogue end up going to Japan. The X-Men get I think kidnapped or something like that. Yeah. And that's where he has this really awesome fight with the Silver Samurai. That's probably mine if we're talking about just overall. But if it's just a straight up Wolverine solo book, for me it's Wolverine 75 when he's coming to grips with having the adamantium leached out of his body.
God,
and he leaves the X-Men.
Yeah, that's my answer. I think it went on too long, but that's still my answer probably as well. I also loved Enemy of the State. I wanted to say Enema of the State.
I don't want to be too predictable here, but the X-Men issue where he's in the sewer going after all the Hellfire Club guys. Yeah, that is that is one of. See, here's the thing. So I've read Claremont
that's
Burns.
Shorter than you may remember, though, because that was 1.5 issues.
One issue, yeah. I read Claremont's X-Men more recently. I reread a lot of those. A lot of it doesn't really hold up quite so well.
Fucking die in a fire, Ryan.
That issue, though, does. That is a solid issue, start to finish, and just him just viciously going through the sewers, just murdering these people left and right. Yeah. That was a good story.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed the single issue from the 2003 series 73, where it's a week in the life of.
Which is it?
It's issue 73. It's basically just a week in the life of Wolverine.
Oh, though, like
the one that happens right when they.
He's
go.
like Sunday drinking, Monday he's doing. He's like with the Avengers.
And the
Tuesdays with the X-Men.
Early Jason Aaron.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like
that was
it was
issue.
a really, really good, well done issue.
Yeah, that's really.
It happened right after Old Man Logan. It was the issue right after Old Man Logan stopped, but didn't stop because they then did the giant size to finish it out.
I don't remember, or I haven't read that. That sounds awesome, though. I do have to say, like, for those of you that, I don't think that I've read that. So I do have to say, I really liked Millar's Old Man Logan. It's Millar, right?
It's Miller.
Okay, even though it's an AR?
It's Miller.
Fuck that.
Like you do.
Fuck that guy.
Stop.
Then I'm in trouble.
I live on Millar.
It's Miller.
I say Millar.
It's pronounced Miller.
I love you guys.
Why it's a fucking A?
Okay, why are you so angry?
It's pronounced Miller. I mean, that's how it's
Because
pronounced.
there's a Y in the last name of the guy named Ryan.
Okay, you're so angry.
Because your energy is leaching into Toby, but it's causing anger instead of
First, he picks up my Twitter habits of being 3 months late to tweets, and now he's just the angriest one on the podcast. Old Man Logan was a great story, and I think that it's probably in the top.
Yeah, Jeff Lemire's is really good.
In the dude, the best Wolverine story is what Lemire has been doing with Old Man Logan. I meant the Miller. Miller. It's tough to say. The Miller story was really good. I really liked it. I do kind of agree with Higgins that it would be very difficult to make a good movie out of it. But it was really good. But fuck, man, fucking Lemire's Old Man Logan with Sorrentino has been so juicy and delicious. It's like a delicious cold IPA that you just want to sip on. And
all right, he's drinking another.
So, to me, the current Lemire Old Man Logan fits more with Logan in terms of sort of a emotional. Like, I liked the original Miller Old Man Logan, but it was more about this interesting world he crafted and not so much about the emotional core of Wolverine, where the current Old Man Logan Lemire is much more sort of to that emotional core and dealing with.
I agree with that.
We're seeing more of him in that world. We're seeing more of him with the relationship with his wife, and
everything that carried forward, and him having issues with not fully being convinced that the world's not going to turn out it's got a very good emotional core to the story that's currently being told.
How stoked are you for the omnibus? I know I am.
Yeah. Now, mind you, all that being said, when you ask me like my favorite Wolverine stories, there's all sorts of stuff that come to mind. Like I did.
Adamantium collection.
Well, actually, one of the first things that came to mind was what they did with him during Apocalypse the 12, when they kind of revealed why he became a horseman in that one issue. Like, I really like that.
Also great.
Yeah. There's a lot of sort of good single issues or a couple of issues, either in the Wolverine single book or the X-Men books.
That's a great answer that sort of ties what Higgins was saying, is there's a fucking large number of great, like, 1 to 2 issue arcs of his stories, without having like some 6 issue or more arc.
So here's a good one for Bryce. I know this is a topic you wanted to talk about. It's from
How fucking awesome Logan was.
It's from Comic Boom on Twitter. Asks, what's your views on Magneto being a member of Hydra? Nick Spencer being under fire for that, since he is Jewish. Is it wrong for him to be written as a member of a Nazi-like group?
Okay, look. Let me.
I hadn't thought of that.
That was the first thing I thought.
So I was like,
this is
fucked up.
So in a series of covers that are coming up, there are various members of the Secret Empire. Hydra has basically taken over the world. This is going to be part of the Secret Empire storyline, and Magneto was a member of this.
No, you want to feed your family, you have to make money. You want to make money, you have to have a good job. You want to have a good job, you need to be successful within your organization that you work for. Nick Spencer is the new Dan Slott. He is like, do you remember when like Peter Parker was becoming Dr. Octopus and everybody lost their fucking minds? Like, this is exactly what Nick Spencer's doing, is how can we sell books? How can we make people more interested? We're going to make Captain America a fucking Hydra operative. Everybody lost their fucking minds, but now it's like, oh yeah, I guess he's still it's been a year. I guess he's still a Hydra operative. Okay, what can we do now that's going to make people lose their minds? That was Heath Ledger.
Yeah. Right. I just love the fact that you're making this sound like it's a great plan. People lost their minds for like an issue or two. I don't think Captain America's sales are anywhere near Superior Spider-Man's sales.
Right, but people are, I mean, what the fuck, are you arguing that Magneto's book sales are going to falter because he doesn't have a fucking comic book? So what I'm saying is
the general idea of how can we shake things up and therefore that will drive sales is crap. If you have a good story, that will drive sales.
Yes. So what I'm not arguing that, like, I'm saying this is fucking bullshit. This is not a good story. What I'm saying is that companies need to make money. How do you make money? I mean, this is basically Marvel doing clickbait. I mean, do I like it? No. Will it generate clicks? I mean, in terms of comic sales? Probably. Is this getting a fucking lot of people, like, saying, what the fuck is going on here? Like, really? This is the story?
Marvel would do better if they go back to the 90s and have just giant boobs on the comic books again.
Well, I agree with that. But
talking of clickbait.
So I hate that this is happening. I'm so frustrated, but only as much as I'm frustrated that Doc Ock is becoming Peter Parker and, you know, fucking that Joseph is banging Rogue instead of Gambit. It's a deep cut for you.
Still?
No. That was fucking like, well, that was like a decade or two ago. Anyway,
it was like 25 years ago.
But I just threw that in for Toby. So I'm just saying that, like...
Man, remember Joseph? Jesus, what the hell?
Yeah, I remember fucking Joseph.
So Magneto was Joseph. Magneto was Zorn. Like, who the hell else was Magneto? Like, he's been all these
No. Morrison had his head up his ass. Zorn, how about Zorn? How about, like, the tie-ins for the IVX? I can only talk to Toby because I'm sure that nobody...
Maybe
read
Joseph is the fucking...
Yeah, but you hate him.
They're pretty bad.
That's probably... How about the tie-ins for IVX, Charlie, being fucking, like, actually legit good? Except for the fact that
he's really thinking about this, so I'm not sure.
So Beast has in IVX.
To think of any that really stood out to me.
Oh, they're all incredible. So Beast has like 6 months or 9 months. In issues like 0 and 1 or leading up to it to like solve this Terrigen Mist problem. He has like 6 months. Well, he's like supposed to be one of the smartest people in the fucking Marvel universe. Maybe you should have gotten fucking Moon Girl because apparently she's smarter than Forge. Fuck you, Inhumans. And so and you can't get Amadeus Cho because he's too busy hanging out with teenagers. So it's like, okay, you have like, you're apparently this super smart guy. Every time there's a new Inhuman, you like get bumped down on the most intelligent person list.
Magneto thing.
So anyway, so they're like, oh, Beast is like the smartest one. He's the only one we're going to put on solving this Terrigen Mist problem, which is like going to kill all mutants worldwide. Okay, good idea. Put only Beast on it. Okay, that didn't work out. Okay, that's going to kill him. Let's go to war with the Inhumans. Okay, good thing Forge just immediately came up with something that's going to totally nullify the entire cloud of the Terrigen Mist. What the fuck? How is this not like considered earlier? Like, oh, and by the way, it doesn't even kill all the Terrigen Mist. It just collects it. What the fuck are they even having a problem with? Because it's all being collected. Like, can't you like scrape it off the top and still have Terrigen after this? What's even going on? Like, and by the way, Maximus is in Uncanny Inhumans, and he's like creating new Terrigen from other like ingredients. Like he's the top chef. Like. Anyway,
Bryce fans listening at home, I can just say as a listener, long-time listener of the show, that it's so much better live.
Anyway, I would love.
We've discussed doing videos.
I would love to go on much longer about that, but anyway,
IVX number 6 ships this week. So Bryce, next week we'll talk all about IVX.
Okay,
I already read it.
Hopefully, I'll be here to talk about it. But anyway, IVX has a lot of great elements, but there are some where I'm just like, I'm fucking rooting for you to be a good story. By the way, it's really hard reading this story, loving X-Men and being totally met on Inhumans, when they want, as a company, to push Inhumans and make them the winners or the cooler ones or whatever, the ones that the young kids like more for the newer generation, because, you know, that's the ones that they have licensing rights to. So it's really tough to see, like, your team lose. Like, fucking Colossus kicks Gorgon's ass, which is, like, fine, but everybody, like, literally Mosaic is untouchable, and he just takes over Magneto and every other most powerful X-Men ever. And Cyclops is apparently with the Inhumans because he's a champion with fucking Moon Girl, instead of with the X-Men. And I'm sure there's more. Anyway, fucking Magneto being part of the Secret Empire is fucking bullshit, but I understand why they're doing it, because it gets people talking about it, and it gets people to fucking I bet Cap sales for number 1 were good. Whether or not they tail off afterwards, it doesn't fucking matter. because they get that revenue generation. Like, I mean, like Secret Empire, as it was going to be, would have sold X. You do something crazy like have fucking ruin Magneto's entire like story, and it'll get X plus Y. And so they sell. So
what you're saying is it's okay to shit all over characters as long as it boosts sales.
I'm saying no. Yes and no. Yes and no. I'm saying that it is effective in temporarily boosting numbers, which is what the bottom line people care about. You and me, fucking, I'm not happy at all. I fucking am very annoyed. But it's exactly like Dan Slott's Spider-Man Dr. Octopus thing.
The thing with
people were fucking going crazy.
The thing with what Nick Spencer did with Cap first and making him a Hydra agent and resetting him, so to speak, you then go and branch out to Magneto in the sense that is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? We don't know. We need to know whether or not the Secret Empire.
There's no way it's a good thing. He's a fucking. He's a Holocaust survivor.
We need to know whether or not the Secret Empire is something that is going to be good or not. I mean,
it's taken over by Mosaic.
Wasn't Magneto also on the Cabal, which is just like, I mean, Magneto's...
The thing is...
Yeah, but the Cabal was awesome. And in fact, actually, I don't think he was. It was Emma Frost. Was Magneto in there too?
I don't know.
I think it was only Emma Frost.
Well, this doesn't really even matter, does it? Because this is all just related to Kobik. Like, this is all just like...
it's all Kobik stuff, and it's all going to...
Yeah.
Stupid-ass Kobik.
It's all going to...
Kobik is the fucking worst.
Fucking New 52. Get the hell out of my comics.
Right when Thunderbolts is about to cancel,
can you imagine
have a crossover and it'll all fix itself.
Can you imagine if the end of Secret Empire is that Kobik and New 52 are actually the same character, and it ends with a Marvel vs. DC crossover?
Oh, that'd be so beautiful.
That would be the craziest thing ever.
That would be pretty cool.
We're going to move on. We got a ton of questions here, but I'm just going to pick a few ones here. This is from Alex. He says, what would be the best trade for writers between Marvel and DC?
Give us Tom King.
Back?
Back. We will give you Cy Spurrier. What can I say except you're welcome?
As long as you take Junior.
Jason Aaron is my man, and if he went and did some DC books, that'd be pretty cool.
I was going to say if you get King, then we get Aaron. There's no other way.
Okay, so should we trade? Yeah, to Lane's point, should we give you Cy Spurrier and then we'll take JR because we fucking just
they both worked on Suicide Squad. Cy Spurrier's co-writing Squad.
God, they are the worst. I guess artist and writer, it's not 1-to-1, but anyway, they're both terrible.
Let's see. We got a bunch here. Okay, this is from Killing Him Softly on Twitter. It says, what are some of your favorite episodes of the podcast? Oh, first of all, congratulations on 300 episodes.
Thank you. My God, happy birthday!
And a lot of people say congratulations, so thank you to everyone that
it's still awesome. I can't believe it's 300.
Yeah. And
I almost stayed home with the kids tonight.
And he said, what are some of your favorite episodes of the podcast, and why is it the Man of Steel episode? And nothing will beat it. Nothing will beat the Man of Steel episode. It really is the greatest moment in podcasting history.
Yeah, the only good thing that ever had anything to do with that movie.
I do have fond memories of my Spider-Man 2 rant, I believe it was. I have some fond memories of that, of ranting about that movie.
I like the Suicide Squad episode we did.
The first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one?
No,
which one?
The one where we had Gage on when we were doing the actual...
Oh, OG, early episode.
We focused on something.
That's when I planned the episodes.
So, yeah.
My favorite moment is still when I silence Bryce. For a mere few seconds, but I silence Bryce with, have you met yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
My favorite part is when Toby was trying to remember Ryan. What's the guy's name?
And the black guy from Mission Impossible.
Let's see.
Charlie, you got a favorite moment? I mean, it's great whenever you say fuck. Like, it is one of the best things in the world.
It's happened like 3 times in the history of the podcast.
People ask
like the moment
maybe one or two tonight, but...
All right, let's last question.
Dude, can we talk about how awesome it is when Patrick Stewart drops the F-bomb?
That's pretty funny.
Like, he's just this fucking old-ass, amazing actor that is just, all of a sudden, just being a kid and loving it.
Do you follow him on Twitter?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
You should. He's pretty funny.
No, I don't.
All right, last question. There's a bunch of good questions here, but otherwise we'll have a 9-hour podcast. Last question here from Brad. He says, what 3 DC comics would you recommend for the pull list of mainly Marvel and Image readers? And that's I think a pretty good question.
Batman.
I think Batman, absolutely.
Yeah, Batman.
I would actually reach probably mostly outside of the Rebirth titles, especially if you're a big Image reader. I would recommend pretty much the entire line of Young Animal titles. I think there's going to be stuff you'll like in there. Cave Carson, Shades of Change a Girl, especially Mother Panic
stuff.
Huh?
Current stuff.
Yes, yeah, current stuff, right? Especially Mother Panic, I think would read well to a lot of Image readers. Marvel guys, though, yeah, I mean the big stuff: Batman, Justice League.
The problem is
for like Image, I would probably go with Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
with what they're doing there right now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, the difficult part with like Batman is Batman and Detective kind of they're not together, but they work together well. Action and Superman
are
really work together. So it's like there's kind of these groups that you would do. But yeah, no, I think those are good ones.
Yeah, if you're mostly a classic Marvel reader, I would think most of the classic DC titles right now are worth checking out. And if you're an Image reader,
you know what you should do? You should just read that DC Universe Rebirth one-shot issue.
Yeah, I think a good chunk of the more indie-focused stuff that DC's doing.
Preferably on your honeymoon.
There you go. Yeah, that's the best time to read it. Best time.
All right, the last question is from No Pants.
Did you got a question?
Oh, do we want to do that?
You normally send in a question and we answer it, but.
Well, yeah.
You could tweet him right now, but that kind of defeat the purpose.
Well, Brock and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I'd like to get, I guess, everybody's take on it because you've answered this question in little bits and pieces over the last few episodes. So, like I said earlier, like I went full in on the all new Marvel stuff, and especially with the Avengers because I liked the lineup. I actually really liked the roster. I thought it was a cool take on the Avengers. It's just the book wasn't very good.
You're talking Uncanny Avengers or which?
No. Like Avengers, where it was Vision, Iron Man, female Thor, Miles Morales, Spider-Man. That team.
Okay, sure. So the Mark Waid one.
Yes.
The all new, all different Avengers.
Yes, that's the one. And so a lot of times you guys have talked about how the problem is that this isn't like the regular Thor. This isn't the regular Captain America. This is all of this stuff. But my question, I guess, is. What's the difference between Marvel doing that now and what DC did in the 90s? Because, as I told Brock, like, for me, like, my first experience with, like, Justice League was the team that had Booster Gold and Blue Beetle and Guy Gardner and, like, my exposure to Green Lantern was Kyle Rayner. So, like, they did a lot of stuff to shake up things for, like, a really long time. So, is it maybe just that Marvel should just stay the course and just make better books, or is the problem just that they're just not allowed to shake up the rosters this way? I wasn't saying this is to try troll like the DC Marvel thing because like I've gone back and forth over the years.
The way I kind of look at it is shaking up things is fine, but you always need that kind of return to the status quo. And I mean, this isn't the first time Marvel's done a shake up or DC has done a shake up like that, but I always find it interesting because the shakeup lasts for a while, and then they always kind of have we're getting back to the core Justice League team, or we're getting back to it's a very constant cycle, and it's not a bad cycle, but at some point it kind of runs its course, and people, because I mean, yes, I liked Kyle Rayner. Mm-hmm. But I spent a long time reading Kyle Rayner books going, so I wonder when they're going to bring Hal back.
Okay. Well, because like for some people, like Wally West is Flash, right? Like there's a whole generation where that's their Flash. So, and I guess my thing is like, there might be a generation where their Thor is,
well, I think that at the time when DC did that really hadn't been done to that extent.
Well,
what?
No. Hold on. So this whole idea of shake-up has happened from the very beginning of comic books, right? You go back all the way to the Golden Age stuff, and they would change team members. They would change stuff all the time. Now, I mean, less so than they did later. But you look at Avengers issue 7, I believe, 11. When is it? When they bring in all the new characters. Then when they bring in Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, right? So very, very early on in the Avengers, these types of shakeups have happened. So this has always happened, and what Charlie was saying is right. It does always go back and forth. It's the classic team, and then after a few years, it's the weird team and the classic team and the weird team. I believe what's happened now, it's a combination of a number of things. One, it is just a pure the talent is not at its peak, right? But I believe what's happened more recently is that we live in a society and we live in a point now where I think we understand that we can have both. There's that great commercial with the great animated GIF that everyone uses, with the little girl. She's like, why not both, right? What I think was so great about the Justice League in the 80s was that they had the classic, and then they reinvented the team a few times, and then you had the Detroit, and then you had a slight return to classic, and then you have the Bwahaha Justice Leagues, and that was totally all crazy. And they tried to bring it back, and it didn't really work. Then you have the Morrison run, which is the classic team again. Then it goes back to the weird characters, and then Joe Kelly expands it to a bunch of nobodies, and then back to the classic team, right? So all these books have always done this. But I think today we have the ability to have the classic team and the alternative team. And I think what Marvel has positioned themselves with in the more recent years has been one is replacing the other, and you've seen the success of Unworthy Thor. You've seen the success of the Amazing Spider-Man title. Despite what people think of the title, it does sell well, right? It's always a top seller for Marvel. People like both. I think people like to have both, and there's no reason to exclude either of them these days. I think that's sort of what DC has done with Rebirth, that you have the classic characters, but you have the supporting characters being mostly major members of the team. And also you have at Marvel where that's not the case, where a lot of characters are being sidelined. So you have Wally West as Flash and Titans, but you also have Barry Allen, and you also have the new Wally West.
Right.
You have Superman, and you have Superboy, and Supergirl, and Superwoman. I think you can have them all, and I think they're figuring this out. I think that's what Generations is going to be. I think that's my problem, is that there is the ability to do both. Bryce seems to disagree with me.
Yeah, so it's tough to argue with you because I don't run a fucking comic shop. But
I mean, from a personal point of view.
From a personal point of view,
plus Marvel thinks Ryan knows everything.
just what books are going to be canceled.
So I do think that you're wrong about, like, I think that there needs to be a period of failure, just like any economy of any product. There needs to be the downs, the ups and the downs. And I think that in this case, they need to go through this period of learning. They need to have a bunch of lost leaders, and in this case, they had much more lost than leaders.
Well, sorry to interrupt. Look back to the early Joe Quesada days, right, with Marvel Knights. His whole idea was throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Perfect example.
Some awesome books came out of that. You forget the garbage, right?
Exactly.
But I think what they had like I've always said, they had their core still, but they could experiment with all this side stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they had that Ultimates line.
They had their lost leader.
They had the Ultimates line that came out of that.
So the lost leader in this case, so they have, let's say, Fool Killer, instant failure, fucking Solo, instant failure. But then they also have these books that have never had solo titles, like Female Thor and Thanos. Well, I guess Thanos will probably be canceled, but I fucking am loving Thanos. But like Female Thor, maybe people... I disagree that, from a personal point of view, again, that both can exist only because... I mean, I guess they are now, so I'm the fool. But, like, if people have... the Thor that they're familiar with, they're just going to go with that. But if there's only one Thor, like you're saying with the Justice League International, when that was the only Justice League book available, people are just going to get it because it's the Justice League book. And,
But after 4 or 5 years, people wanted the originals back.
Right, exactly. But Marvel's only been sucking for the past 4 or 5 years. Just kidding. They haven't been.
And now they want them back.
No,
right?
They haven't been sucking at all. They're still the best. But anyway, my point is that. So you think that there's room for both. I think that they need to have the one alternative that is not the popular alternative for people to try it and be like, you know what? I don't like this idea of a girl Thor, but I'm just going to give it a try because it's the only Thor book that I know. And she still got Mjolnir, and it's still in the whole, like, Odin verse.
Well, go back to the 90s, right? What Julian was saying. Look when Superman was replaced.
Thor with the fucking...
You could think of Beta Ray Bill. You could think about what was the Thor replacement?
I thought you were talking about like hairband Thor. In the 90s.
What was the Thor replacement guy? I can't remember his name. Thunderstrike.
Thunderstrike. Yeah,
Think about
terrible
Azrael.
hero click.
Think about
Terrible.
Azrael. Think about the replacement Superman. Right. Think about Kyle.
Right. So same point is that, like, if you give the readers only that one option, some are going to stick and some aren't going to stick.
Yeah.
So I think that Marvel's done, I mean, I guess if you can say, like, a great job of, in the past.
But go back to those books, though. This is something that I was saying earlier. Where was Kyle? What was the name of the book that Kyle Rayner was in?
Give me a Marvel example. I don't know.
Green Lantern. What was the name of the book that Thunderstrike was in?
Thor.
I mean, he had his own title later, but what book it was called?
Journey
it was called
into
Thor.
Mystery.
No, it was called Thor, right? What book was when they killed Superman and he was replaced by all the Superman, it was Action Comics and Adventures of Superman, right? I mean, they were the main titles that these characters took over.
Okay, but unless I'm playing revisionist history, like in my own mind, which is very common, don't get me wrong, they did that like once per half decade or some like once per 2 years.
Most of the Marvel and DC characters
has an alternate fucking character in the past 2 years or 3 years for every fucking book.
Right. It's been all of them at once, and
exactly that's what I'm saying.
When DC did it during the back half of New 52, when Superman lost his powers, Batman was Gordon, Wonder Woman got some weird new costume, Green Lantern was a villain.
Did you say at the end of the New 52?
Towards the back half.
Is anybody
of the New 52.
Does that even count for anybody anymore?
I mean,
I love Jim Gordon Batman.
So did I, but the thing is, DC did it all at once, and that was their failure because none of it was special, and no one had a base to return to, and that's been Marvel on a whole. And DC very quickly was like, "We fucked up Rebirth." Marvel's like, "Hey, here's Fool Killer," like.
No, don't be a dickhead. They
check out Mosaic.
They're failing.
That's exactly what it is. I mean,
they're failing all at once, including Fool Killer. Not we failed all at once. Hey, let's now introduce Fool Killer. Like they're failing now.
Yeah.
So well, I think Ryan's point is instead of course correcting, they just went farther in.
Yeah. Well, Marvel totally doubled down.
But what I'm saying is, and this is just total Marvel apologist, but like, fair play. If you're already so far gone and you have a fucking like another year in the tank of failure, go more experimental because like there's going to be shit that's going to come out of this. Like I don't know what's going to come out. Higgins will know better than me, but like I mean nobody could have known that like Old Man Logan would actually be successful.
Well, I'll take everything Marvel's done because we got Vision out of it. It'll be the one book we remember in a decade.
Sure,
right?
But what I'm saying is that like X number of titles will survive.
It sucks when you're in it.
Yes. Okay. Sure. That's like the theme of a lot of political arguments.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of great stories that could have come out, and like I would make the argument for Ultimates too, right? Like this book came out of fucking nowhere. Like who are these people? Like these aren't the Ultimates. Like this came out of Secret Wars. It's a bunch of characters that we don't even know, but like it's creating some of the best stories that we've had, in my opinion, in fucking years. Same with female Thor. I mean, I don't know if that's just Jason Aaron because it's definitely not just Jane Foster. And there's probably a bunch of other ones.
The Jason Aaron female Thor, I mean, that was a natural progression from his Thor run prior, and it just came out. I mean, the only hiccup that one had was that they renumbered it when it became female Thor, and then they renumbered it again like 8 issues later or something, and then it was like the same thing. It's like there was no need to do that. I think,
that's not really a hiccup of the book. That's just a.
But that's the
company
thing is,
policy at the time.
Is like, I mean, it's kind of where it's like most of the Marvel wall is unrecognizable to people that are come in or looking for, Iron Man and, all these main title characters. Like, you come in with Batman at the end of New 52 and it's Jim Gordon in the bat suit. It's a bat suit. So, it's Batman in a suit. Wait, it's Jim Gordon. Why is that happening? There's that's something interesting there, where it's you pick up what? Oh, his ding.
Higgins
He's got to play
his
Zelda
phone during your answer. That's disrespectful.
I texted Leanne to say super long episode wrapping up soon.
Wrapping up soon. I don't know if Craig has anything to say about it. This will be 300 minutes for 300 episodes. Look,
we're getting close.
We're 3 hours, I think.
Okay, so thanks for totally distracting what I was going to... Fuck, what was I going to say? Fuck!
Hey, how's that U.S. Avengers book?
Fuck!
Probably canceled.
What? Seriously, though, give me 10 seconds on Thanos. Is it going to get canceled? How's it selling?
Jeff
Thanos.
No, I think it's just a mini. I think it's just a mini from Lemire.
It's hard for me to separate how much you know versus Higgins, because you work here so much, but he's actually the owner.
But I read it. And it feels like a mini.
Oh
That
my
was-
god! I
that
don't
was
even know what to
so-
say. about
Thanos
that.
number
So
4
subdued.
sold 32,000 copies, the 69 spot in the February sales chart, slightly above Daredevil and above Renew Your Vows, and also Aquaman and Champions of Guardians of the Galaxy, just below Green Arrow, though. Yeah, it's fine for now. If Lemire has said on Twitter that he's finished his story arc for Thanos, he's not going to leave it in the middle of a story arc. Whether they continue it or not, I don't know. They probably should. I think having a Thanos comic is a good idea.
What was I going to talk about?
Sells more than Paper Girls. That's pretty crazy.
Paper Girls is so good.
Well, I'm going to
Thanos
start.
is so good.
I'm going to start thanking some Patreon backers here. While I'm doing that, why don't you try to remember what you were going to say? And if not, Bryce, we have at least 300 more episodes of this podcast that we'll record, so I'm sure you can talk about it next time.
We have at least 300 more
At
to
least
talk
300,
about.
yeah. We're going to record 300 episodes tonight, so better strap in. We're early on episode of 1.
am I supposed to
so.
do?
Challenge accepted.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this podcast, and thank you, everyone, for listening to the last 299 of these before tonight. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you, but thank you. And thank you for these crazy people that give us money and drive all the way out here to be on this podcast.
You drove?
yes, I do. Yeah.
Do you have a Prius?
No, Kia Soul. It's
Hamster car.
yeah. You guys need to check it out before you.
Not electric? How the fuck
No,
did you
it's
make
not.
it this far?
No, it's gas.
Oh, okay.
No, this is I haven't been on a road trip in a while, so I took my time. I went to the Grand Canyon. I went to Vegas.
Nice.
I'm heading to Colorado after this before I head home. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
We were our U-turn spot. He just like, all right, that's where I'll stop. Turn back. Time to go back.
Forrest Gump status. He got to the ocean. Fuck this shit.
All right, we have all sorts of people to thank. This is our monthly Patreon thank for all our $5 and up backers. So thank you guys all very, very much, including Joe Duff, Alex McHale, Matthew Schnapdon, Kilson, Mark Long, Ivan Liskanik, Brian Morawski, Matthew Holmes, Dennis Jansen, Paula Schultz, Blake Etheridge, sorry.
That was so you could take a breath.
Keith Amaral, David Polanco, Christopher Noyes. Hey, Chris, hope you're enjoying your Switch. Kevin Nguyen, David Safar, Red Hat Man, Stephen
Amell?
Yes, Stephen Amell. Only $5, you asshole. Stephen McLeary, Travis, Gary Hollinsby, Chris Freeman, John G, Jamie, Timothy, Aaron Wright, Father Dante, Nick Harrison, Chris Plackey. Again, wait, did I just say the same name twice? Kevin Ellis, Gordon McKenzie, Stephen Hayden, Ned Marino, and Andrew Crucieri. Thank you guys all very, very much. But most importantly, thank you to our highest top tier backers, including
You're so tired. Your head's like going up and
Albert
down.
Soy. Hope you're enjoying your Switches also, Albert. Julian Titus from the Nerds of All Pants podcast at pixelpit.com. Julian, thank you very much for all
thank
your
you for having me.
here.
Very
Thank you for
disappointed you wearing
being here.
pants today.
Why are you holding the mic stand?
Yeah,
like
stop
it's a
smashing
mic?
the mic.
What?
It's too loud.
I'm fine. I grabbed the microphone.
Ryan has Preach Podcast at soundcloud.com/Preach Podcast. Please check that out. Jody Lawson has the Triad Comics Anthology at triadcomicstudio.com. Manoa Plays, Sam Che, Talon Bray, and Craig Anderson. Thank you guys all very, 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 very much for all your donations to Patreon. And if you want to be on this list or hear your name on here or you have something cool to plug, like Julian over here, you can shoot us a little bit of cash over at patreon.com/comicconspiracy.
Okay, so I didn't remember what I was going to say, but I do remember that I wanted to dovetail my earlier topic. I want everybody that subscribes or collects both Marvel and DC books, I swear to God, go pick up your Batman books and feel the pages. This isn't
kill the mic. Just
this
kill the
isn't a
mic.
trolling thing. Feel the page of I only collect Batman from DC, but feel your Batman pages and then feel a Marvel page. Like, it's not a trolling thing, and I don't know if it means that the DC pages are
Do they need to
higher
spread them out on their
density or
bed and
glossier.
like lay
It just-
on
they
them
just-
and just?
No, they just feel
But I do
thinner.
like
And Toby
DC.
agrees. And I'm not saying
Cover.
Marvel, it might be because they have cheaper paper and like worse gloss. I don't know, but it just feels like it's thinner paper for DC. That's all I was wondering, and I still feel that way, despite Higgins saying that actually Marvel has worse paper. But nobody expected a different answer from him. Thanos is awesome.
All I know is the Marvel comic, the back of Marvel comics rub off on the bags and boards. That means cheap paper.
All I know is that Old Man Logan, the comic book, is almost as good as Logan, the movie. The top 3 Marvel books that everybody should be buying
Do you know?
are Ultimates 2, Old Man Logan, Thanos.
Do you
That's
know,
3. That's 3.
great. Do you know that Comic Conspiracy? Do you know that ComicConspiracyPodcast.com, Geekbox.net, and iTunes is where you can find this episode and many other episodes where Bryce tells us about his top 7 Marvel
and
comics
Moon Knight
of all time,
and both Thors, no pants,
please
both
rate
Thors.
and review us on iTunes and tell us your top 3 or 9 Marvel comics.
Clone Conspiracy was bad. It was very bad.
Week.
Fake news.
If you want to send us your fake news, you can send that to the Comic Conspiracy at Geekbox.net or the contact forum.
Jessica Jones.
If you want to buy Jessica Jones, you can buy that at digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. They have sales pretty regularly on our website there.
Nothing else. All bad. Daredevil good.
Speaking of all bad, conspiratorBrock.com is where you can go to visit Brock's blog and video pull list. The Wanderers of the Fourth Dimension podcast. That's Charlie's podcast, and we're just talking about bad guys in the Fourth Dimension.
Uncanny Avengers good.
And talking about good at Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. It's my wonderful wife, and so you can buy some of her art. And Julian picked up a few pieces there, and we're shipping you that bell, too, so that's on me. So
Uncanny Inhumans, shockingly good.
If you want to hear about shockingly good stuff, Ryan Higgins Ryan, that's on Twitter. I tell you all about the good stuff coming from all the comic companies.
Batman, fucking incredible. Batman is so good.
Okay, well, I'm not going to talk about Brock on Twitter for fucking incredible, but you can follow Brock Sager on Twitter. Thanks. Brock, I'm just joking. Larson Bryce, Toby XI, Insanity and Chaos, Comics Con Store, Julian_Titus.
Julian_Titus. Also, the podcast is at NWPcast.
NWPcast. Add us all, please. Follow us on that Twitter. Geekbox Comedy Bet and Good Job Brain All Talk Podcast, Manga Machinations, and of course,
Nerds Without Pants.
There you go.
No pants.
No pants. Make sure you listen to those guys.
Because apparently, if Toby doesn't have a mic, he has to start taking things apart.
What? Did you break our mic stand? What the hell's wrong with you?
Hey, can I
what
talk?
What did you do?
Can I?
Damn it.
Okay,
well, this has been a fun 300th episode.
Kids now, come on.
Wow. Can I talk about how?
Are you like drunk by proxy off Bryce? Like
it rubbed off on
Brock?
some
Did
shit.
Bryce drink and Toby got drunk? Like what happened here?
Wouldn't be the. Wouldn't.
I think he's gonna wet himself.
Jesus Christ! Wouldn't be the first time. Can I talk about really quick about Monsters Unleashed?